Hey everybody, welcome to the absolute grand finals of UD6. This is going to be so much fun. Hey Mythical, how are you doing?
I'm doing great as always. Thanks for asking, Twin. We've got 9 competitors competing today, and it's basically the best of the best are all here
Yeah.
competing at once. We've had them split up into our multiple qualifying events. Some people were ready for earlier events, some people were ready for later events. So we haven't really seen everyone come together and all duke it out at once, quite like we're going to see this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be great. As you can see on screen, Devil Thief and Brother Main qualified way back during the final of the July tournament. Cute Shadow and Skunkoff were joined them on the August finals. Copic and Fireman went there through the September finals, and Melwest, Superling God, and Ghost Death got there with last week, like at the very last time possible, and. Well, today is all about like who's going to win, who's going to get there, and in 2 weeks we are going to have the ultimate final. So it's a live event. It's a little bit of a different setting. It's all about celebrating the UD, but for a lot of people, the grand finals are like the essence of a UD. It's where the best of the best are going to compete. Like this is those are guys are definitely the best at running all those 10 games in a row. Maybe not like holding any world record on those games, but like just being able to beat Cuphead, A Story About Miracle, Metal Slug, Trials 2, Shovel Knight, The End Is Nigh, Inertia, DKC, Spectrable, and Castlevania Area of Sorrow. It's a big big ask, and those guys have been practicing for the past 24 weeks, and yeah, it's all down to those 9 runners, 10 qualified, but Bermondo, although fantastic runner, did not feel like actually racing 1 week again. So I do totally understand. Once again, it's all for fun, but still 24 weeks of practice and grinding. How do you feel about that?
Well, I was not one of the players putting in the grind time the way that some of these guys have. Some of them have been there since like one and constantly practicing throughout. Devil, one who put in a ton of time early on, and then took currently a third on the leaderboard when he I don't want to say tired, but when he break from competing in events, since he was number one by a fair margin on the leaderboard. Mel West was pretty close, but since then, both Mel West and by a tiny little bit, Brother Main have overtaken Devil Tifa. So it's I wonder just how well Devil Tifa is going to do today. Will they be here ready to play? Is it going to be the same Devil Tifa we saw a long time ago? Have they been putting in that effort this whole time the way that a lot of these other names have? And some players didn't get a chance to compete through the whole season because they weren't aware of it or whatever. But we have Ghost Death here today who joined the season pretty late compared to some of our other players and has done a fantastic job with the smaller amount of time learning these games, getting to a very high competitive level. And then, there's a difference between getting good at a game but also getting consistent enough to race those games the way that Ghost Death has.
Yeah, that's something worth mentioning, especially on certain games. We've seen like shift clearly between like actual super aggressive strats and then like people moving away from those, because the UD is all about racing more than grinding per se, and like people are still doing like super intense strats, like right off the bat in Travel Night people are doing the bubble wrap, and but some of those strats are not super worth it, and we'll see what Melwest does today on first is going to be Cuphead, and Cuphead is one of their biggest strengths. Like you can see on the top half is their best grind time, on the bottom half is their best race time, and yeah, Cuphead with over like 210 points on their best performance, certainly is going to be a big help. DKC, sub 39, also one of their strengths, but that player card is just super full. It speaks for itself. Like, there's not much to commentate, except maybe that tiny gap on Spectrable, Inertia, Shovel Knight, and A Story About My Uncle. But, like, they've just killed it.
Yeah, I was looking at what are the different players' strengths and weaknesses, and for Mel West, none for weaknesses, and many strengths. Whereas someone like Brother Main at least has or there where he is not the best of the best, near the absolute top of the leaderboard. We can see he's quite strong in Shovel Knight, Spectre Ball, Area of Sorrow, DKC. The end is nigh, but is a little weak on Metal Slug. And certainly in terms of racing, has yet to get Shovel Knight time in a race that can match the sort of time they're able to do when they're going for offline personal best attempts. So I think Shovel Knight is going to be a concern for Brother Main. It's been a concern for pretty much every player in the UD this whole season. But if Brother Main wants to forward, then he's going to need something a little better at 59, I think.
Yeah, certainly. Devil Tifa is a great guy, he's a good friend of mine, but he's been like maybe a little bit tired of UD and hasn't put so much practice lately on all those games, so that player card might be actually deceiving, we'll see. Except like for that part of that could be worrisome, like not practicing as much as the other guys. That will be like a big impeachment, but except for that, the player card is very similar to Mel West. They've like passed 2,000 points on the race leaderboard, and on the other hand, Super Lingard, they've done fantastic last week. They were a bit disappointed with their result, but still passed the 1800 mark. Their best race time combined over around the 1900, but not quite there at 1888. And I don't know, except for Shovel Knight, it's pretty good. Trials 2 is a little bit lower than some of the others. Story About My Uncle, best race time at 33:43 is not that great, but like their DKC is a very big strength. Under 39 is a very good time. And yeah, like Spectrable, they had the best race time for the entire season at 8 minutes and 20 seconds last week. So that was like a big leap in the actual leaderboard last week. So we'll see how they can replicate that.
That's right. It all does come down to how you do in the race. You know, all these times, all these bars and things on these player cards look wonderful, but at the end of the day, none of it will actually help you directly today. You do need to, the only thing that's going to matter today is your performance today and tomorrow, of course. We are splitting up our grand finals over 2 days. We are not going to have the players play for 8 hours straight. It is a decathlon, but it is going to be a set of 2 pentathlons. I'm actually not sure how they do it in the Olympics, if you do have to do it. Anyway,
yeah, but sure.
we're not the Olympics, and we do not expect our players to destroy themselves for so long. So we will be doing the first 5 games today. It is going to be good. Of the games today, I think Shovel Knight going to be an important one, and I think probably A Story About My Uncle is something that players seem to either do quite well on, or it starts to fall apart a bit, and the mistakes start to compound. So of these first 5 games today, I think those are 2 I'm going to be particularly interested in, but that's not either of those is not our first. It's going to
Cuphead is great. It's been an interesting race for everybody. If you die anywhere, you're going to lose a lot of time. Baroness von Bunman, which just seen killed a lot of runs and a lot of players, but also just being a little bit faster everywhere than everybody else will put you at a great advantage. So it's been a fantastic run to see like the player actually get better and better. The big question though for this weekend, just before we start Cuphead, Mystical, what score do you think, like, if anybody beats that score, assure the qualification? Like, obviously if you pass like 2000 you are qualified, but what's the score you think like all those players are going to beat to assure qualification?
I think it's probably going to be something like somewhere between 1800 and 1850, I think, is going to be where you'll see the difference between fourth and fifth. Yeah, it could be a little lower, perhaps. It all depends on how everyone holds up, and particularly, I think it's going to matter how things shake out. If the first people jump out to an early lead, I think chances go down that the other players feel motivated and able to catch these guys. There is a bit of a gap between fourth and fifth on the leaderboard into PBs, and that can be pretty demoralizing. So if they're able to make an early charge on some of these early games and see, like, no, I'm right there with them, I can do it, then I think they'll start to push each other, and we'll see those players get up to that 1800, 1850 point mark.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So multiple scenarios for this weekend. The first one, and the most likely, is Melwest probably like jumps in and beats everybody and gets first place. That's very likely, but we'll see how Brothermain, Double Tifa, Super Lingard holds up with that. The second very important aspect is the UD top 4 runners for the grand finals are going to be invited to play live. We're going to pay for their trip to Fougères in France, and you're going to be there, Mythical, to commentate their live performance in a theater we are renting for the event. So everybody is aiming for top 4. Obviously, everybody is aiming also for top 1. Those 2 goals are going to matter a lot. And for Cuphead, the main objective here is not to die, because dying is in Cuphead is one of the biggest like time loss in any game of the UD. So we'll see how well those guys perform. This is the any person simple category, so you are going to see never see the final phase for each bosses. You also are not going to see the final Dice, King and Devil fight. So it's going to be quite short. The best will aim for sub 19, but that's a very big ask.
I don't know if we'll see that. We will see a variety of weapons, however. Melwest and Tifa seem to be a little more old school, perhaps, when it comes to Cuphead Super Link God as well. All of them opting for the spread sub-weapon. And this is what everyone did earlier in the season. It was commonly thought this was the way to go, and then people started experimenting with Roundabout, which is what Brothermain is using. You can see the super going to work there. It has this sort of looping yo-yo effect that can make it a lot easier to land shots on most bosses. Knockouts there for Melwest and Devil Tifa. Again, Cuphead is timed with in-game time, so keep an eye on the timers. There will be a little bit of discrepancy, so try to use those to eyeball to get a sense of who might actually be in the lead as we take a look at everyone now finishing off the first boss in the root pack. But this Roundabout weapon was generally considered a more safer, consistent option, and then people started really experimenting with it and pushing it. It started to be kind of thought that it could actually be faster than spread, especially with certain bosses like Cagney Carnation, who we'll see in a little bit. So we did see a shift, players start to switch to the Roundabout route, but it looks like of our top 4 on stream today, we're 3/4 spread.
Yeah, apparently the old school and the world record example still holds up for most of those runners, and taking a lot of damage intentionally, as you can see on everybody's screen, because you can use those super and nice sync for Devil Tifa and Melwest on the left side of the screen. Brothermain has a little bit longer load time, so it's not impossible that we see them like being a little bit behind for the entire run, but everybody is quite synced up. We see a lot of knockouts at the same time, and yeah, this is this is starting great for everybody. And you can see a little bit of time difference in the in-game time. Like at the end of all the bosses, you see you will see from like 2 to maybe 10-second difference between those guys, and that's going to matter a lot because we are going to go through 13 bosses, which means if you lose like 5 seconds on each boss, it's going to add up quite a lot. So Guppy La Grande is not going to be a problem for any of those guys because it's probably one of the easiest boss in the speedrun. You want to stay close and have all your projectiles to hit, especially when you're using the spread shot, and using correctly your super is going to deal a ton of damage. And yeah, synced up Devil Tifa and Melwest at 34 seconds spent in the boss fight. Skunkoff lost a lot of time in the Ribby and Croak fight, so probably died very early there.
Yeah, I was wondering when I saw him using the spread earlier, and I thought when we up, I was sure we were going to see Billy Ground, but definitely must have been a death to Ribby and Croaks. That's not. I mean, you don't want to die at all in this game. That's kind of a weird one to die on, and as the very first game of the run, that maybe is going to shake your confidence a little bit. So we'll see if Skunkoff is able to bounce back. For now, neck and neck. This probably could have been predicted by some of us. Melwest and Devil Tifa historically through the season have been the top two battling it out, and it seems that is the narrative, at least for game number 1. Both players on Hildeberg using the super that requires taking a hit to get inside. Well, Melwest did, and we're going to see Devil Tifa being a little bit early on the X super. Using that as well as the super that Melwest did sets you up nicely for the end of the fight. Super Main and Super Link God now also joining in. This is the first, I think, hard boss to execute on in the run, making sure that you don't miss these shots from long distance with the plane. Very easy to do okay, but when you really want to execute at a high level on this boss, this is the one where I think you're going to find yourself putting in your first major practice time. Melwest ahead by a second, maybe still very close between Melwest and Devil Tifa.
Yeah, 3 seconds time difference between Melwest and Devil Tifa on that specific boss. They were very close together, but that's going to put like the first like very minor time difference between those two. Brother Main is appearing to be very much further behind than he actually is. Super Lingard actually getting a faster time than Melwest on Hildeberg, is actually catching up a little bit. And Cognicarnation is where the roundabout used by Brother Main and other runners is going to shine, because like it's pretty hard to hit a lot of those spread projectiles. You can see Devil Tifa bounce up and down like Melwest is doing right now, but like 2 or 1 projectile is constantly missing on the boss hitbox, and that's actually causing a lot of hassle. You're going to see on Brother Main screen that is going to deal full potential damage on each hit, and the roundabout actually going back when he misses is going to deal even more damage. Like overall, he has the potential to actually dodge shots, and that's going to be very nice for them. And Super Lingard bouncing as well, and Devil Tifa and Melwest are already done with Island 1, and they're both going to move to Island 2, where the route on the overworld actually changed. Devil Tifa, being old school, probably will go with Beppy the Clown first, but Melwest is probably going to go with Baroness von Bonbon in the first place, so we'll see how that goes for both of them. Ghost Death, Fireman, Cute Shadow, Super Lingard, all are done. And there's done Skunkoff left a little bit behind, just because they probably died once again on Ruby and Croak. Melwest starting Baroness von Bonbon, and Devil Tifa does as well, so my bad, actually like giving you false hope. We are going to see the same route for those two runners.
Yeah, this says that, you know, maybe Tifa has been paying attention to things, has maybe been putting in more thought and effort into the UD, despite not putting up any new PBs on the leaderboard. So I think it's a pretty good sign that Devil Tifa is going to be coming to play here and play well. They're got Baroness von Bonbon now from Brother Main and Super Link God first phase of the fight is doing your best to chase whatever candy comes out around the battlefield without taking any hits. It is very easy to die on Baroness von Bonbon, especially if you want to get aggressive the way Mel West is with the spread supers. He does take one hit. He uses that opportunity
Wow.
to get inside the hitbox and do another spread super. He hit every single spread super on that boss, as a fantastic job, and has pulled ahead of Devil Tifa now by quite a bit. This fight's going for Devil Tifa.
Yeah, Devil Tifa missed like half of his second super, so he's going to lose a lot of time here. Finally gets the knockout, but that's about 15 seconds slower than Mel West. Mel West is going very strong here. Brother Main with the roundabout actually like being in a weird place, but is on par with what Mel West is doing right now, even a little bit faster. So Brother Main is actually like we've been hoping for their big comeback because they've been putting a lot of practice in the UD, but off tournament because they were already qualified since the end of July. So it's actually pretty great to see them run again on today. And starting with Wally Warbles here. This is an interesting fight because it's actually not too hard if you know exactly how to recharge your super. You're going to deal a lot of damage, and like everybody has the same weapon here. You just want to hit them as hard as you can, as frequently as you can with your super, and it's going to be great.
Second phase now, Fal West, just keeping close the eggs, but not too close to actually touch the boss. He takes a hit, but he knows he can take a hit or two at the end. There it is with the knockout. 906 on his turn is going to be the time. I'm curious what, I'm going to look at Brother Main when he finishes this boss. If I can remember, of course, to get a look to 59 is going to be the in-game time. Devil Tifa is about ready to finish up with this phase as well. Has charged up one super, lets it go, has up to get another, but doesn't need it, gets the knockout. 923 going to be the time for that for Devil Tifa. Brother Main now is also on this last phase and didn't quite get as much out of that super perhaps as he wanted. 903 is going to be the time for Brother Main. So is right there with Mel, who is going to be the first player on stream at least to reach
It's all about staying on his face. Jimmy the Great here is not too bad. You want to hit those pillars, even though it appears to be like just an auto-scroller section. It's all about like actually dealing damage because it still counts towards the final like HP count of the boss. And yeah, you're going to see. Usually, some runners also use the Super EX here to just like destroy the health bar of the boss. And interesting phase here where the Space Slug is shooting mummies at you, but it doesn't last for too long since you can stay on its face, and as long as you know how to dodge the shots, you're going to do great. And formal phase, once again, nothing too hard here. We've seen some runners die here, but it's pretty unusual. You just want to get all your shots to land, and it's going to be okay. Mel West missing the refill on his super here, but doesn't matter, he was full anyway, gets the knockout. Very, very nice fight. Devil Tifa on the second phase here, the last phase, my bad, and Brother Main on the second phase. Everybody seems to do great, but that's exactly what you expect on Cuphead. It's probably one of the easiest games to get into for the entire UD6 selection. That's why it's at the start. It should set up for a very close finish for everybody.
Devil Tifa actually had fully charged up an EX Super at the end of that fight. Was basically just playing very safe after he dropped down to one hit, was making me a little nervous. I'm sure he's the same, but he does get the kill. That is the all-important thing at the end of the day. Mel West, the first one on to be the clown. Spread works very weird, assuming that he doesn't shift around too much on that first phase inside the bumper car. It looked like it went pretty well, shooting downwards off screen at a hitbox that is there but cannot be seen to rack up some early damage. Mel West is very good about finding those supers whenever he can. You'll frequently see him at things that aren't there, but I promise you he is dealing damage, and it's just one of those little things that you can do in this game. Mel West loves to go for it. It's kind of his thing. He likes to push things to the limit as much as he can. I arguably too far back in July, perhaps, but we are seeing a bit of a different Mel West here at the end of the season. Will still go for things like that, but when it becomes unsafe, Mel West will switch to something that is a little safer, a little more consistent to make sure that he finishes it out. And it's been very impressive. It's one of the reasons why he is doing so well right now. But it's going to be Brother Main who will try to challenge him for first place on Cuphead, also getting those shots downwards, and a bit of a different fight with the roundabout on this last phase.
Yeah, the roundabout doesn't seem to be as much effective. Wow, what was that diagonal super for Brother Main? Weird angle, but still finds the kill. Mel West entered the Grim Matchstick fight at 12:29, so it's very close to what Brother Main time should be. Devil Tifa is going to be a little bit behind, about 30 seconds maybe, and the green matchstick with the spread can get hectic very quickly, as is on the second phase it can get very tricky to hit. So we'll see. Yeah, Mel West starts directly with the pea shooter, getting a couple of supers right away, dodging, but when you're dodging with the pea shooter, you're not dealing any damage. That's where Brother Main could shine. He's about 6 seconds behind Mel West, so that's a very close race. Ghost Death is doing fantastic. Skunkov still running from behind here. Cute Shadow starting the Grim Matchstick fight, and Fireman in Beppy the Clown. Fireman is way behind now, about more than a minute behind, so that's 10 points gone already. And Cuphead is not a game where you want to lose points. Like, it's been one of those games where consistently runners have put like very good times, and as soon as you die, you know exactly that the other runners are doing better than you.
Yeah, it can be hard to maintain focus in that situation. We can see Skunkoff is on a different route, so it won't be until Grim Matchstick that we see where exactly Skunkoff is compared to these other players. But I think he's just got Wallybles and then Grim Matchstick left, so he is kind of a whole boss fight behind at this point. I'm not sure if that was an extra death or perhaps just playing it a little more safe after the death early in the run, but he's pretty far back for now. Mel West onto Honey Bottoms again, shooting supers at another screen hitbox. Timer reads 14:36 for Mel West, but only 13:46 for Brother Main. So despite appearing to barely far apart, with those in-game time considerations to be made, they are actually quite close. Devil Tifa is down to one hit, and Super
Lingard just died on the Grim Matchstick, and that was unfortunate, like at the very end of the fight, and then lost a lot of time. Super Lingard, I'm like super scared for them. Like, they were not super happy with last week's results. That means they're going to try to be a little bit more aggressive. Being more aggressive will lead to those kinds of deaths, and sadly that one cost them a lot of time, and now they're going to have to try even harder to catch up, and that could lead to potential either like huge success, like some runners are very good to run under pressure, or on the other hand, like myself cannot handle those kind of stress. So I don't know how Super Lingard is going to do, and gets the kill on the second try, but they lost about a minute there, so that could be potential devastating at the start of today's tourney. So Brother Main still doing great. Devil Tifa a little bit behind Mel West, but not by much. Mel West starting the second phase on stage play, where, to be honest, like, there's a big difficulty spike, I feel. Still stage play, you have to dodge a lot of things, you have to stay focused. It's been 16 minutes the runners have been running, and yeah, Mel West. Oh, wow, whiffing super. That could be tough. We'll see. I hope. Yeah, they still can take 2 hits, so it's going to be okay for them. Gets the kill at 16:20.
If you are only at 1 health and you try to go with that strat to defeat Sally Stage Play before that wave comes, you would be in trouble if you missed that super, because you would not be able to take that hit from that wave. There is a moon that comes down that you break open, and there's a thing there that you use to jump over the wave, but it is a bit of a detour, so you'd really rather not if you don't have to. Devil Tifa switching to spread a little early, using the spread super instead of the regular super, so he's going to take a hit, but he's going to use those invincibility frames to finish it off with a spread super, so I like that adjustment there at the end of the fight. For Devil Tifa, Mel West going into the first phase of the Phantom Express, which is quite simple, so especially if you spread, just get in there and use it. Brother Main with the roundabout on the second phase of Sally stage play. He takes one hit here. He still can take one more on the wave, but he'd rather not. We'll see. Spreads or regular pea shooter supers going up, lands all of them on Sally stage play. Spread's not going to quite finish off the fight as fast as the roundabout would, but he does all the same.
Yeah, my main concern with the roundabout is that it looks weaker. It's not that it actually is, but since you put so little, so much actually projectiles with the spread, mentally I'm yeah, that hits a lot. It just shows, and the roundabout per projectile actually deals way more damage, but it's always a concern visually. Devil Tifa finishes the second phase of the Phantom Express, probably one of the actually easiest bosses in Simple, because it's all about the boss builds above multiple hits and multiple phases and multiple attacks, and in Simple you can actually destroy the boss before he does almost anything. So knockout for Devil Tifa, and Mel West finishes in 1813, which is a fantastic time. I've said sub 19 would be awesome, and yeah, Mel West just can put that anytime on Cuphead apparently.
He's not going to be the only one to finish sub 19. There's going to be Devil Tifa, who's only got 18 or 29 now on the timer with only a short walk left, so he's going to be finishing under 19 as well. Brother Main, assuming everything goes well on the last phase of the Phantom Express, also very well posed to put up a fantastic time. He does miss one super there, and he takes 2 hits, so he needs to be just a little bit careful as he finds the last few hits on the Phantom Express. Mel West also got down to 1 hit at the end of the fight, but he was able to make the adjustment, going for a lot of the longer distance diagonal shot to make sure that he kept out of danger. We've got Cute Shadow now in the top left, in the August tournament, finished in first place there. And really impressive consistency across all the games. Was very close to PBs across pretty much every game. It was something that was quite a treat to watch. We can see them both finish in sync. Their timers don't necessarily be synced with each other. 1809 is 2 seconds or so faster than Mel West. Very close between the two of them. They will upload their runs. We will get those timed and added to the leaderboard once we are done. Fireman now in the bottom left, and he's on the second phase of the Phantom Express, along with Super Link God. So they're going to give us a bit of a close race here at the end on the bottom of your screen. We got Skunkoff, who died earlier, now on finishing up Sally stage play, and is really not too far behind, most of a boss fight behind 2 of our guys here on the bottom of the screen. So done a pretty good job recovering from that early death, it seems.
Yeah, everybody is asking why does the run end before the dice. Actually, because this is the simple category. Cuphead in the UD6 was meant to be a very simple introduction to speedrunning, and not a very hardcore game and speedrun as it can become if you are running in an expert mode. The game can be super tricky and difficult. This is just meant to be cool introduction to UD and to the 10 games in a row. Sadly for Skunkoff, it has not been so much nice, and wow, we think that first super sadly is going to make that phase a little bit longer. There's a little bit of RNG here depending on whether the skeleton chooses to go left or right, but yeah, the spread actually going to last 3 phases. That's pretty unusual. That's because of that first whiff super. And yeah, everybody but Skunkoff is apparently done. We can see the final screen on Fireman, Super Link God, and Cute Shadow screen. Skunkoff being the only one that died, I guess, on Cuphead. And it's going to be a little bit tough for them to run from behind for the entire weekend now.
Yeah, this is a situation Skunkov did not want to find himself in at the least this early. Skunkov is one of the bottom two, I think, of the all the players competing today. Held their own against Double Teeth and Mel West in the July tournament, qualified with Cute Shadow in the August tournament, but there's about a 200-point gap between the top four and around where Skunkov is sitting on the leaderboard. So he's going to need to play very close to his best and count on some mistakes from his opponents. So to be making mistakes himself this early on in Cuphead, finishing with a 21.09 and playing from behind here is really not how he wanted to go. It's not how anyone wanted to go, I suppose, but him in particular. All the same, though, 21 minutes to beat most of Cuphead, all that you can on simple mode anyway, is still impressive in its own right. We can take a look at the leaderboard soon to see just exactly what times everyone got, because if we tried to watch all 8 people at once, then 9 rather, then it would hurt your eyes a little bit. So we'll around focus on certain players here and there and do the best we can. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay. So, quick explanation. Quick. I just remembered, but they cannot run today. Being like a doctor, they have like actually like more pressing concern than speedruns. So we still want them to be participating. So they will be doing the 10 games in a row tomorrow. So they're going to be streaming starting at 1 p.m. CST, doing Cuphead, A Story About Miracle, Metal Slug Trials 2, and Shovel Knight, and then they will be running The End Is Nigh, Inertia, DKC, Spectrable, and Eye of Sorrow with the other runners. So it's going to be a cute, fun event where Quick is streamed tomorrow on the French stream. Just seeing how well they can do. It's going to be they're going to be under a lot of pressure doing all those 10 games in a row, but that's the best arrangement we could find. Nonetheless, Brotherman, Melis, Devil Tifa, and Ghostdeath being first, second, third, and fourth with fantastic performances are putting a lot of points and a big gap with Cute Shadow sitting at 197, Super Lingard at 191, Fireman at 187, and Skunkov at 178. So apparently Fireman died on Hildeberg. Super Lingard died on the Grim Matchstick. Skunkov died super early and lost a lot of time, but it's still very close. But being 30 points behind the first place could, be stressful.
Yeah, for sure. It's I'm worried about Super Link God too, because like you said, he had some things that didn't go so well here and there, and despite having an incredible like 1,800 plus point run across the full decathlon, said that he was a little bit disappointed. So he does seem the kind of person to focus on the mistakes, which can help you find places to improve, certainly, but. It probably doesn't do too much good for your mindset heading into a race. So Super Link God, if he had started off young, I think that would have helped a lot. And with that death in Cuphead, we'll see if he's able to shake it off and come back ready to play game 2. It is going to be a story about my uncle. It is a first-person platforming grappling game, and it is got a wonderful sense of flow. It is fun to watch every single time we play it. It has a cute little story that we're not going to see too much of. We are forced to see some of it, unfortunately, for some of those forced waits on those cutscenes. But when the action is going, it is fast, it is intense, it is very hard to flow from one jump to the next, let alone the difficulty of executing on each individual jump. Players struggle, even really good players. Pretty much everyone has had a run of this game where things really don't go their way. So it could be a bit of a trap, perhaps. We saw even Zigwigwi got stuck in a weird part of the level that they weren't familiar with at a checkpoint they didn't expect to hit. So this could be a scary game for players.
Yeah, it is an intense game. What if you don't know the game at all? Keep an eye on how fast the runners are jumping from a point to another, how well they chain their jump, or how much they wait to set them up, because all those players know exactly what they're doing. They're very, very talented runners, but the fastest one is going to be the one that actually chains every jump, every grappling together the faster. And sadly, the faster you go, the more you might get imprecise with some of the spots you're grappling onto. If you don't like barely graze the rocks and just like keep your momentum going from one jump to another, you might bonk your head and go into full stop and actually die and restart from checkpoints. Checkpoints, there are very a lot of, but we are also skipping a lot of checkpoints just in order to go as fast as possible. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how well that goes. For the sake of showing off the entire run and not just like what the runners are grinding, everybody's starting on the workshop just at the very start of the game, and usually the runners actually skip that section for grinding purposes and staying sane for the longest time possible. But here we go, just the introduction for the game, introducing movement and the actual backstory, but we do not care too much about it in a speedrun because all we care about is going as fast as possible. Melwest, Brother Main, Devil Tifa, and Kozdes are currently first, second, third, and fourth, so that we are going to focus on them. And yeah, we get our nice suit thing, and that will allow us to actually grapple, jump, leap, and do all kind of crazy stuff. But first we have to get into the actual fantastic world our uncle built for themselves and us, presumably.
Yeah, he leaves this suit behind that fits us like a glove, so he clearly has us, the nephew, in mind for something. I think it's a little irresponsible to give your nephew a super-powered jumping suit and entire world to play around in, and then not be around to oversee any of it personally, but that's kind of secondary to just having fun in this video game. I did notice Brother Main kind of walked over to the map that's hanging up in the workshop, and it was definitely off the racing line through the workshop. It was not the most optimal turn he could have taken around the table, so I don't know if he was scratching his nose or something, or spacing out, but he did lose half a second or something through that workshop section. But we're into it now. We are starting the Sanctuary. It is the first leg of the game, and it's has some of the toughest platforming in the whole game, honestly. This very first sequence of jumps that we're seeing Devil Tifa doing. First sequence of long jumps, he does get hung up on a little bit of rock there, and if he is going to try to make an early cycle. He doesn't land on top of those posts, and that will certainly help if you can, but it's this cycle with this up and down rock coming up that is the thing. Here, this works.
I don't know what Devil Tifa does there. I never seen that. That was actually super crazy, and they actually
he skipped the rock. It didn't matter what the cycle was. It was good.
Yeah, like, wow. Okay. I like that I'm actually like discovering strats on like 25 weeks into Yuri. Like it's actually crazy what those runners actually can create for the sake of consistency. Brother Main, Devil Tifa, Melwest actually like chaining jumps and grapple very, very quickly together. Kozdes waiting to set them up for that specific jump that actually missed a couple of jump at the start of the level, but everything is on a universal cycle. So if you miss just a single jump, you're going to be in a lot of trouble to go fast. You might have to wait for some cycles, some rocks floating towards your way, but still. Devil Tifa starting the first and not the only out of bound of the game. What you can see is like any rock you see you can grapple onto, you will be able to land on, but the kill boxes might trick you. Oh no, yeah, like that. Devil Tifa just put a toe on the incorrect place and died.
that one particular rock right here is tricky one. You do need to land right on the edge, and showing some frustration here is Devil Tifa. This is not him wasting time. He is waiting for this rock here. So while he's waiting, he is going to mess around and let out some of that frustration. But this is the route that some of the other players to go with right away. Brother Main certainly did the skip. West was waiting. Ghost Death as well. So. That out of bounds sequence saves a little bit of time, not a whole lot, and it carries that large risk. So some players have started just not going for it, and Devil Tifa showing exactly why that is. So he has fallen back a little bit early on in the sanctuary. I think it's Brother Main who is in the lead right now, but it's still fairly close. It's surprising how much the players can separate just through the first minute or two of this game, of actual gameplay. The workshops certainly up a minute or two, but we usually do see it's not quite a cluster of people coming out of what is essentially the first level.
Yeah, the sanctuary is incredibly difficult. If you want to get into like a story about my uncle, just understanding like the overall movement and the skips in the first level gives you like almost the full potential of that speedrun. And yeah, Brother Main and Melwest are super close together. Brother Main got a better cycle just because he was overall faster on the second half of the game, of the level, to grapple on that truck. Melwest had to wait just a little bit, and you can see Brother Main pulling ahead just by a couple of seconds here. Devil Tifa and is still like ways behind, while Ghost Death fell down and died, so is even like further behind than Devil Tifa. And both Brother Main and Melwest are going to start the village, the level 2, shortly. Here we go, and that level starts immediately with a cutscene. You do not have control on what you're doing. You do not have the grappling cursor, like crosshair on the center of the screen. You just have the dot that indicates that you cannot do anything, pretty much. So you have to suffer through that cutscene, but like except for that one and the one at the end of level 4, you will be able to skip all the other ones, which is nice because that game is very much story driven. So if you were to go through all the cutscenes, the speedrun might be like 45 minutes to 50 minutes long, to be honest.
Yeah, it gets cut off quite a bit. You start speedrunning going skips, one of which is later on in this level. We can take a look and see that just about everyone is now in the village. Skunkov might be right there with Brother Main and Melwest, actually. It's a little hard to tell how far along these gesticulations he is in her series that she does before she dramatically leaps off the cliff. It's assumed that she can swim down there or something, but at first it looked like she just straight up disappears. But she will be back. She'll actually be riding on our back a little bit, but we will skip the cutscene where that happens, so we won't see it whatsoever. She will be talking to us for most of the run, and she's a lovely companion if you don't mind waiting for a little bit here. Brother Main and Melwest are off in the village. The very first sequence, Brother Main did very well. Melwest also lands safely. Having a bit of trouble with some of those rocks. There's a lot of different approaches to the first half of the first jump even of the village, and it looks like it's going particularly Brother Main.
Yeah, you could see exactly what I was saying, like about going fast in that game. Melwest on the jumps on those rocks actually waited and set them up on a very specific ledge so they could like keep on going. Oh wow, missing that. It's actually Melwest screen right now. Landing on that pebble and just aiming and grappling that rock saves like maybe up to 10 seconds because you are like dodging one entire platform and keeping one grapple charge exactly there so he can grapple on that rock and keep on going. So, but dying reverts all the time save, like it's an unforgiving game, but they managed to get the cutscene skip here very quickly, and that's super nice for them. Devil Tifa dying again lets Ghost Death pass them on that very specific jump, but Ghost Death is going to demonstrate what happens if you do not go for the skip. They have to land on that specific island, and Devil Tiffin might bite them just because of that. Brother Main is almost done with the level, barely grappled on that rock. That part can be deceiving, but they manages to do that, and they will end the level pretty quickly. 9 minutes into the run, which is actually okay, and enter level 3, where like level 1 is hard, just execution based, and level 3 is awful just
Whoa.
because you cannot see anything.
Did he already trigger the cutscene? Yes, he did. Okay.
Yeah.
Brother Main was tricking me. I never know where the cutscene trigger is in the second level. But once you trigger it, it doesn't matter what happens to you afterwards. You will advance to the caverns in this case, which are extremely dark and very difficult to where you're going. Keep in mind, the players have also bumped up the brightness like crazy here. It's actually quite a bit darker when you play through with something closer to intended settings. But even on the brightest settings, these walls are still pitch black, and we're about to use them to navigate one of the bigger skips in the run. So just hoping that cursor lights up in the right place as you try to find the right place on this wall to grapple to. And it looked like he had to make an adjustment mid go here. So we'll see if he's able to. It looks like he's going to be able to do just fine, and we'll see what kind of backup he might opt for. It looks like he's going to just keep going. He's playing this pretty aggressive. It has been very, very good on my uncle run for Brother Main so far, showing no signs of slowing down. One last grapple before he will safely touch down. Nice.
Yeah, aiming for the checkpoint. That checkpoint, once again, is optional, but you do want to get that, especially in a race. We've seen last week, a big shout out to Sandomar showing off nice backups, and they shown that the second part of the skip is actually totally not mandatory, which is awesome to see. It would have helped to know that, like me personally, because I struggled learning that skip. It's pretty hard, so yeah, anybody that can find strats, I love. And Brother Main, like, breathing through the second part of that level very, very nicely, finding their spot to grapple super quickly. Actually, like, did not find the speed they wanted to get of that grapple, so actually reset it to the checkpoint super quickly. Devil Tiffin the skip on the first part here still has a grapple charge, so he's going to do just fine. Ghost Death on the very same skip with the same exact setup is doing great as well. And Melwest going for the final checkpoint here should stay close to Brother Main, but Brother Main already in first place could keep that spot and like get super confident with their performance on the UD6 here, which would be nice. Aiming, like landing safely at the end of level 3. You can see the runners like do crazy stuff here, but it doesn't matter since they already triggered the final cutscene.
Melwest is looking straight into the eye of the beast. It's kind of this whole thing, this whole stealth sequence. When it's looking, you're not supposed to move. And it goes on quite a bit longer if you come in to this area the good way, but the players are soaring in from a bit of an unintended angle, so they're able to get most of the way through it before it even wakes up. And it can cause problems if you do get caught in terms of where the game tries to send you and what triggers are hit. It can be a little weird, so players want to try to get through this section on their first try, like Brother Main and Melwest did. Devil Tifa and Ghost Death very close together. They're gesticulating in the same exact time. All right, I guess they're looking at each other now. It's just what's going on over there. But for now, it's Brother Main out in front in Skyhaven.
Like, Ghost Death and Devil Tifa has shown one of the very few instances of RNG in the game. It doesn't matter at all, doesn't cost you time, but the worm is going to look like either left or right, and that's randomized. You do not know why the dev would put that extra effort to make that random, but I guess it's there, so it doesn't matter. Very nice sync between Devil Tifa and Ghost Death on the bottom half of the screen, while Melwest and Brother Main are going through Star Heaven, which is a fantastic little piece of level. You have lots of ways to navigate through all those floating rocks, and it's a cool one. It's a very nice one, except for those fans. Clearly those fans are like hell incarnate, and I hate those because you can grapple only those when you are very, very close to them, and they're very deceptive. They do not give you the momentum you would expect from one giant turning wheel, you grapple on the very edge. It doesn't work quite nicely. So Brother Main and Mel West navigating through the level quickly. Mel West on that specific spot during the July final lost about 2 minutes and reverted and died again, and that's not what you want to happen. So Mel West losing a ton of time here is going to let Brother Main fly freely on first place. And yeah, this place is way harder than it looks. Those fans, I tell you, they're not. Nope. Yep.
Is he going to be able to? Okay.
They lost a cycle, like a quarter of cycle, but it's okay.
We'll see how the fans go for Brother Main. This time they're not spinning with you. You know, they're perpendicular to you rather than parallel, and that could be a problem, but not for Brother Main. You know, the fans are going to be in slightly different positions each time, and not always in great positions to grapple to, but you can always count on the middle of the fan being something you can grapple to. So there's kind of a, you know, can I get to one of these edges that are easier to work with? I can't. Okay, I need to go for the middle and try to get a pretty precise grapple so that I don't get hung up on it as I launch myself towards the rocket boots that Brother Main is the first player to pick up. They let you rocket in the air for kind of a long time. You can see it's a really big boost, especially with the settings that we're using when we speedrun this game. So they count, you know, I mean, they're required for a couple of these jumps, especially early on, once they show them off, but he didn't quite get enough out of it, and or I don't know if he broke his grapple early or what, but he immediately reset. Brother Main did, and lost a bit of time. The checkpoint was right there, so it wasn't one of the really big nasty ones, but he did hit that checkpoint too after he flung himself off. So minor time saves, showing signs of slowing down a little bit, but still has a firm lead.
Yeah, nice sync once again between Devil Thief and Ghost Death. We're not sure where Super Lingard, Cute Shadow Fireman, and Skunkoff are, but I totally expect Brother Main to be like in first place by quite a margin. They're very good at Story About Miracle, beat the sub 29 by like seconds, and when we announced the game, the existing community was like, yeah, 30 minutes is a very, very big like ask. You have to work on that for that one. And actually a lot of players beat the 30 minute mark, so that's pretty cool. A Story About Miracle was featured on SGDQ 2018, and the Real Vicencio like has a world record, but it's not been beaten during UD6, but could have been. Like, it's just that all those runners had 9 other games to work on. And oh yeah, very nice Brother Main with the extended grapple strat here. If you reset while you start grappling on a rock, you can keep the beam going, the tether, and give you like an extra boost. He's going to above that village and keep one last grapple charge here to perform the skip. Very, very nicely done. Very cool looking strat, and like showing off very nice performances. Those pebbles, you can grapple from so far away. It's amazing, and yeah, very, very neat section by Brother Main here. Nobody is going to be able to catch them on Star Heaven right now.
Yeah, he is almost done. There is still the ice caves left, arguably the hardest. Well, I don't know. It's pretty evenly difficult throughout. Yeah. There are some of the hardest individual tricks, I think, scattered throughout a couple places of the ice cave. Brother Main is actually grappled to the tip of the crystal here, so I think he's going to get a pretty nice edge boost off of that. I don't know if we've talked too much about that specific mechanic, but brushing against edges as you go flying past them will actually give you a bit of a speed boost, and it's very hard to use properly in a speed run, you know, in your route, because it depending on just what angle you take will give you more or less speed that will sometimes be the difference between making a jump and not making a jump. So there is a bit of wiggling and adjusting here and there all throughout this game, all throughout this run, that is very difficult. We saw the skip for Mel West. We're seeing it now for Devil Tifa. He's actually going to land a little bit awkwardly on top of that roof, but he does get the skip, and he runs over it. It looks like a checkpoint, but actually isn't a checkpoint. So it has been a while. This is a bit scary moment for any player after they get that cutscene skip looking for their first checkpoint. Brother Main has reached the cutscene at the end. It is a touching, emotional moment where Maddie comes to grips with who she is and who her people are, and her new friend's going to go on and she's going to by, and we mostly don't care. Brother Main certainly doesn't. He is just he's doing the goodbye dance to see her off, and mostly just rather impatient, would like to continue on with the run. Too bad he's going to have to wait. The other players starting to catch up now through catch up in quotation marks through Starhaven.
Ghostess had a fantastic Starhaven, almost caught up with Melwest, and barely survived that jump here, but they're like one jump away from Melwest. Melwest is starting the cutscene right now. Devil Tifa had also a very, very good level, so everybody getting like back and think Ghostess and Devil Tifa are trading like seconds since the village. They're very close together, like almost forcing the sync emote in chat out of me, because like that's crazy good. Cute Shadow already in the cutscene, so is Fireman. Superling God not showing what they're doing. I wonder why. I hope they do not have any issue with the game. They had like a weird soft lock right at the end of the run, after actually the run was done last week, so I do hope the game is behaving correctly for them. And finally, the cutscene is done for Brother Main. That cutscene is super long, once again, super touching, very emotional moment, but we've known Maddie for only like 15 minutes, so she shouldn't get so attached. That's... yeah. Brother Main having a couple of resets here. They're going for a weird edge boost here. The kind of strat that can save you time if you do not have to go tethering through the ice, but actually ended up costing them maybe about like 5 to 10 seconds because of a couple of resets in a row. And that specific jump here, you want to land on that sheet of ice, but it's not really intended, so boop, getting out of bound, and then like sliding off and having like refilled all your tether, your grapple charges, and your boots, but you have to land on that rock. Sadly, it's very round, and finding the edge is quite difficult, and Melwest has a very nice strat here, actually landing on another platform that's actually very much easier to land on. But Brother Main is showing like no sign of slowing down, being able to climb that tower and keep on going. Very nicely done.
Yeah, probably the hardest sequence of jumps in the run, and certainly checkpoints way out there on those rocks. So also I liked that Brother Main didn't get it on the first try, had the extra grapple to save himself. Some players will opt to grapple down to the rock, look for exactly where they want to land, and then grapple. They pull themselves to there, but that can backfire if you miss. You just wasted a grapple that you can use to save yourself, trying to position yourself. So some players will try to just move their body and land on the place where they want to land rather than use those grapples to find that position. Lots of ice cave skips now for all the other players. Devil Tifa is just now getting the reset inside the terrain. Melwest shooting up for theirs as well. Quite close between Melwest and Devil Tifa. Ghost Death is a little bit ahead on the first rock here, jumping off, heading up for the second. Devil Tifa as well right behind him. And Melwest way overshoots that rock, and he doesn't land on it, and he is going to able to somehow. That grapple seems impossible. How did he find that? Is he going to be able to convert? He is going to land, and he is going to be able to continue the skip. Nice save.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And there is the small platform Melwest used to land on, and doing it again today, and that's a great strat. I like it. But to give you a little backstory about UD, this is the 6th season, and Melwest has been with us since season 3. Devil Tifa has been with us since season 2. They both like won a couple of finals, and Brother Main has been with us since season 1. He's been like gravitating around what we're doing since a long time. And Ghostdeath is the little new runner, new face here, and I cannot prevent myself from rooting for them just because they're like the fresh blood in speedrunning with the UD. So it's pretty cool to see them actually pulling ahead of Melwest and Devil Tifa, especially considering how much work they put on the UD6 and that they were 4 behind during the last week, last chance tournament. Like Melwest just crushed everybody, and seeing them doing so nicely today is super comforting. Even though with the only like doing this is only the second game, so I do expect Melwest and Devil Tifa to pull back ahead after this. Brother Main is not stopping for anything right now. They're almost done with the level. Just that final section with the you have like 2 ways of doing that. Clearly, the game is encouraging you to just use the grapple. You have crystals all along the way to refill your charges, but landing safely and using the power leap is going to save you a lot of time. And you can see them, grappling ahead just because that gives you some extra speed. So Brother Main just never stopping, never setting themselves up, just having very clean executions throughout the entire game. Like has very good lead, and Ghostdeath, Devil Tifa, and Melwest are very close together. Ghostdeath and Devil Tifa on the very same jump. Ghostdeath barely making that and using the power leaps. Ghostdeath worked on the alternative strats around that pillar. You can go either left or right, but Ghostdeath is going with the legacy strats, going right here, landing on that small triangle. Yeah, very nice. This is always scary, and grappling near to the little snowman, hello you, and moving on.
Yeah, sometimes we don't get to, the people hear me talk about it, but they don't actually get to see it. So that was nice that Ghostdeath took kind of a wide angle and came in charging directly at it. Brother Main has finished the final sequence, final downwards slope series of repeated grapple charge refills off of crystals, and is basically done. He's got a short walk over to finally see our uncle, who has been just hanging out here in these caves, and one long cutscene before we actually get to finish up with another trot through the workshop and finally get our time. We get Devil Tifa.
Devil Tifa barely saved himself.
Do that? That's crazy.
Oh, and
he is the grapple recharge.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
recharge and
there's the ref. He's getting really. He's not just trying to save himself here. He's actually trying to find the optimal way to save himself. Don't just get back to the platform. You know, if I can push forward and make progress from this position. This is pretty awesome to watch, and it looks like he is indeed. Well,
doing something.
Okay,
he actually
is he going to be able to do this? I don't know if he's going to be able to do... Okay, he is finally touching the ground with a checkpoint, is Devil Tifa.
Nice. Ghostdeath actually a little bit ahead just because of those hesitation from Devil Tifa and Melwest. Devil Tifa saving themselves like that just shows how, like, competent they are with speedrunning and racing. They just, like, were relieved, clearly, to be able to land on the platform, but just, like, actually knowing exactly how the physics of the game behaves and taking the time to realize what's happening to you and how to save yourself without panicking or quick resetting. Quick resetting can be actually what you want to do in those situations, but if you don't have to, you should not do it. And that was the perfect call from them. But yeah, Ghostdeath is going to be a couple of seconds ahead, maybe 10, and that race between Ghostdeath and Devil Tifa has been like crazy since the beginning, but Ghostdeath finally pulled ahead. Melwest is very close behind as well, and so should everybody, because when we had like the opportunity at the end of level 4 to take a peek at everybody's run, everybody was pretty much in sync, so we'll see the final result. Brother Main, yeah, as I said, everybody's in the same spot. Fireman just landing on the teleporter. Skunkov just entering the caverns. Cute Shadow waiting in the cutscene, aiming forward to look at the ceiling. It's going to be actually a very, very good race. Everybody should be about sub 32. The final section is about 4 minutes long, so The story about my uncle is like DKC. At the end, you still have 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, apparently this is probably the first time I've ever seen not one person finished, but have nothing to talk about because everyone else is also in this cutscene. Normally, there's a we can do some play-by-play on how they're running, but it is going to be Brother Main who finishes first. When we saw Cute Shadow and Fireman already in the cutscene, it's hard to tell just how far through that cutscene that they were. But we can see now that Brother Main's very strong run has indeed been the strongest of the bunch on screen. Skunkoff is taking the time to actually move around and get inside some models and stuff. All the other players are content to take their hands off the keyboard, mouse controller, whatever they're using for just a little bit. Hopefully get them back on in time because Brother Main is now walking through the workshop. We have seen players be very close to certain cutoffs, and certainly the cutoff for UD sitting at the 35 and 40 minutes.
Yeah, 40 minutes.
That has rolled around a little bit as players are walking through the workshop. So it actually was kind of tense to see if they're going to make it to the final door in time. In this case, it looks like is going to make it to the final door before that 30-minute mark rolls around. He's going to show off coolest skip in the run. Here comes the box skip in between the table on top of the cardboard. That's right, very stiff cardboard, able to support a grown man because you are now returning to the workshop as an adult. Your nephew, your uncle stays behind to take care of the mission that he helped create, and you are now sending him one final last message. 29:45 going to be the final time for Brother Main as he sidles through the door. This is the sequence. Send a little picture of daughter and maybe a little mess about how with you to your uncle. Not sure if it will find him because the teleporter is covered in snow and it just kind of blows off into the night, but we can imagine that it finds its way there. And it's a lovely, cute little game. Definitely encourage you guys to check it out. It looks like Cute Shadow is going to be the second person to finish. We can see they are now indeed heading through the workshop, and it's going to be pretty close. We got black screens from all the other players. Probably our closest A Story About My Uncle race that we've had in the UD so far.
Yeah, I'm actually amazed how close all those runners are together. It's been fantastic to watch. Just to address a couple of remarks in chat, UD is following the existing community's rules. We do not want to overrule anything. We just want to be part of the existing communities. We've been inviting the runners to commentate some runs with us. And we've been following their rules. Their rules we might or might not disagree with, including setting the FPS cap at 31 to get some better strats, and actually doing the epilogue. So on some other like racing or tournament rules, you could imagine setting up like the end time when you first see the uncle or anything, but this is the existing community rules. Any of those runs can be submitted on speedrun.com, and that's pretty much the ID UD exists. So it's all about, respecting the existing and the existing runners in community. 31-38 for Devil T-Fan. That's actually like about 20 points behind Brother Main, and that could like give them a nice lead 2 games into those grand finals.
Yeah, this is pretty big for Brother Main, beating pretty much absolutely everyone else in the company by 20 points is very remarkable. Almost as remarkable. Story About My Uncle race to watch. Certainly the best results that I'm looking forward to as we'll take a look at the leaderboard and see exactly where everyone ended up, but it's going to be close. There's not going to be a whole lot of movement on the leaderboard after Cuphead when everyone's exactly the same. So that is pretty incredible. We will probably expect to see Brother Main on top. I'm not sure exactly how Cuphead. Yeah, they were the first in Cuphead, so this is going to continue, and pretty surprising, I think. We've seen dominating performances from Devil Teeth and Mal West in the past. And while Brother Main has always been very good, right behind them the whole time, this time it's be the guy on any single game, it seems.
Well, to be fair, this is the best performance we've seen on a story about my uncle for a long time. Last week, first place was held by Melwest in 30:11. This is like 25-30 seconds faster than that. So Brother Main fully deserved that first place and that commanding lead of 20 points ahead of Melwest and Ghostess, who are neck to neck on the second place at 390. Devil Tifa is right behind them at 388. Cute Shadow at 385, Super Lingard at 382, the Fireman at 370, and Skunkoff's falling a little bit behind with twice in a row last place here, 357. But look how close those times are, like 30-31, 38, 31-08, 31-32, 31-07. It's like Super Lingard could not peak their run, but got a 30-54, which is actually the second best run for today. So that's 191 points on that very specific game. So they're still like far behind because of Cuphead, but they could pull back ahead with a couple of runs similar to that.
I just like seeing the 46 point spread, 46 second spread between players in A Story About My Uncle. Lovely numbers to look at, certainly, but perhaps not as lovely as the 410 point score for Brother Main, 20 points ahead of every other competitor, including all of the, I mean, everyone is the strongest competitor that the UD has to offer. They're pretty much all here. I mean, sadly, Barramondo perhaps not here. Caprique will be here, but it's not here yet. So it is a huge achievement to come out 20 points ahead after just 2 games against such stiff competition. I'm also just blown away by how far the goalposts have moved. This 32-minute run from Skunkoff is currently the lowest of bunch today. But in almost any other competition that we've had across the UD season, this would have been a very, very good time. So the level of competition has just risen that much, it seems, and it's just kind of incredible to me to see those numbers and how things have changed.
Yeah, I love to see how those guys are pushed like forward by the actual like competition and today's like incentive. You want to be top 4 today to be invited to play live in 2 weeks in France. You also want to be like maybe first, second, and third, maybe to just like crown how well you've been doing for the entire season, because this is one of the like maybe the most important and the most competitive tourney for UD6, and Metal Slug is not going to lie. If you're not ready on Metal Slug, you are going to lose minutes. It's all about ammo management, it's all about precise execution, knowledge of how the game behaves, knowledge on how the hitboxes of all the weapons work. Be sure to land the exact amount of hand grenades you need at every single spot. You'll see how well the runners have prepared on that very specific game. It's a classic, it's super well known, but I feel like the speedrun for Metal Slug is maybe not as well known. It's way harder than it looks, because even though all those runners have infinite credits, you will lose time every single time you die, every single time you struggle to kill an enemy you have to kill, and it has been like we are playing on the PC port. It has been a struggle for a lot of runners to actually make it work. Hopefully today we do not have any issues, and yeah, I do hope the runners get there with the slug and their hand shotgun and 60 grenades to the final boss. But sadly, when that happens, they usually die immediately, so we'll see how well they've been preparing for Metal Slug during the last week.
I don't know if we've ever seen the picture-perfect final boss fight. Certainly some people have come close. Most people have not. It is very hard to get there with the weapons and resources you need to execute on that fastest strat in that fight, and it is probably the biggest loss, time differential in the run. We can see the players waiting on this menu screen. Mel West was getting in some last-minute practice. I think maybe it was just a demo running there, but either way, he is now
Yeah.
on this menu. And I think we're not going to see too much movement going on between the players through the first level, but there are a couple opportunities throughout the second and third where stronger players have really established themselves. Nice sync here as we get started. We're going to be jumping quite a bit. You move a little bit faster maybe quite a bit faster when you jump compared to when you are walking.
Yeah, actually
on the
almost
ground.
twice as fast. It's you want to be jumping. It's one of those games where if you're on the ground, you are going to lose a lot of time. Ghost Death with a little bit of stream delay. I hope we can fix that. And yeah, everybody is jumping, aiming their hand grenades, knowing exactly what they're doing. Level 1 is not a big issue for anyone because like it's super short and nothing really is there to kill you. It's just a nice introduction, arcade style, where the machine is going to eat up your coins, but just a little bit later. So it's already done for Brother Main, Mel West very close behind. Ghost Death is in the middle of the level. Devil Tifa is already done. I do want to point out that Devil Tifa shift from blue color to brown color because they shift from 3rd to 4th place. So currently Brother Main is leading, and they've had a very good Metal Slug runs lately, so I do hope to see that live right now. But this is a very grind-friendly run. You want to die, immediately reset and start again. This is a 10-minute long run, and it's pretty easy to just keep on resetting until you have the correct RNG and the correct drops and everything lining up perfectly. But this is a race, so you cannot do that right now. You want to be safe but also fast. We can see Brother Main actually like playing super safe, jumping above those pits, not chaining jumps as you could do, and getting on that boat very nicely. The rocket launcher is a super efficient weapon, and you're going to put that to good use against those boats.
Boats you need to wait a little bit so that the boat finally becomes vulnerable and will actually be damaged by your rockets. He doesn't need those last few rockets on that last boat. This one, however, can shoot pretty much as soon as it's available. Brother Main was taking a moment to make sure he got something from that prisoner before he jumped down, so losing a little bit of time, but he's got the shotgun now, very important for the upcoming mini boss fight. The Devil Tifa is just triggering now, kind of jumping past it to get the camera moving into the place where it needs to be, then doubling back to get up high and land these shotguns, followed by these double bombs, and just repeat a couple times, and you're done. Mel West right behind Devil Tifa with Brother Main, and very close between the players. Ghost Death had a bit of trouble earlier on in the stage, has the shotgun, has the bombs, is going to be able to execute on that exact same mini-boss strat. We got to skip here a little bit for Devil Tifa, shooting the gun one direction, shooting the cannon in the other. If you take out those enemies on the ladders sufficiently close to each other, the game will check to see, are all the enemies here dead? Yes. All right, let's move on, even though it should be spawning in quite a few more. That's something that will happen in a couple other points in the run. This one may be the easier of the bunch. Certainly in the final level, there's a ridiculous 8-person knife that you need to land on 8 guys all at once, and that will remain to be seen for a little bit. Brother Main, Mel West, very close, still just a little bit behind Devil Tifa after this boss. Just getting started here, has those bombs to work with, so it's going to be a pretty quick fight. But we can take a look at something. Pretty much, it seems we do have Super Link Gods. That's good for us. He is also done with Mission 2, just starting Mission 3.
Yeah, very close so far between all the runners. Mission 2 boss has a couple of different patterns, and you might get unlucky with those, but Devil Tifa had a fantastic RNG there, just got exactly what they wanted, so they could like mash their bombs right into the boss's face, and that was done. So Brother Main waiting for that elevator as Mel West is done. Devil Tifa a couple of jumps ahead. The start of that mission is very vertical. You want to be sure you are jumping on the correct spots. The platform's hitbox can be a little bit tricky to get correctly, but once you know exactly what you're doing, should not be a problem. Brother Main, Mel West, Devil Tifa already on the mini boss fight. It's already dead, and very nicely done. And this is one of the most important tricks coming up right here. So you are going to see like very specific jumps of from Devil Tifa, sadly missing the shotgun, so he is going to have to wait here for all those enemies to spawn and to kill them. So he's losing actually about 10 to 15 seconds depending on how well he killed those guys. And Mel West got the skip and almost entirely caught up with Devil Tifa there.
Yeah, that just goes to show how powerful some of those skips are, and they're not easy to do either. Brother Main was stuck going with the left and right, killing the enemies, but he did handle that situation a little bit better. I think that he's taken care to make sure he finishes off these tanks with bombs. If you shoot them, then a guy comes out the top, and you need to kill him in order to defeat the tank, and it actually does waste quite a bit of time. So making sure you use a bomb gives you a different animation where the tank blows up and makes it much quicker, much easier to deal with. Devil Tifa and Mel West, Brother Main all have this metal slug now for into the fight, and it's not really so much for the abilities that the metal slug has. You don't need the armor to multiple hits. You don't need the cannon or the machine gun. You really just want its unique ability to have more than 2 bombs out in the air at any one time. You can just dump all of your bombs into this boss that is, below you on the way that your bombs arc directly down onto it. It just works out to be the perfect DPS thing to do to this boss. It played itself very quickly. So Devil Tifa and Mel West both done now. Brother Main going ahead and emptying out those bombs. He's out of bombs, so he's just enough to finish it off without having to get out of the tank and start shooting down. It's a bad situation you don't want to be in. Very happy to have just crossed that HP threshold.
Because this is having a little bit of trouble on that mission 3, losing a lot of time, while Mel West and Devil Tifa are already halfway through mission 4. It's a very short one, and Superling got just done with the boss. So it's Kanka, Fireman, Cute Shadow in the transition between mission 3 and 4. Yeah, Ghost is just starting to shoot bombs right now. And Brother Main led significantly on game 1 and 2, Cuphead and Story About My Uncle, but is about 30 seconds behind on Metal Slug. Metal Slug goes 3 seconds per point, so 30 seconds could like completely annihilate their lead of 20 points right now. So they should try to stay close to Mel West and Devil Tifa, but they're both already done. Devil Tifa leading by about 10 seconds because there's going into the mansion here, being sure to kill and to free everybody they need. They are killing a lot of people, playing very, very safe. You will notice them like going back and forth, just being making sure some of the enemies are dead, while you should, in theory, just go as fast as possible and shooting the enemies while moving, but that's actually super tricky to do. You want to keep your grenades, your resources, and just stay alive will go a long way in the entire run. So Brother Main starting mission 5, while Devil Tifa is already at the door. Those doors take exactly 8 grenades, so that's 800 HP. But actually destroying a slug will deal 600 damage by itself, so that's a very interesting way to deal damage. And that boss is a weird one. It's like Ridley in Super Metroid. It will die by itself eventually, so you just want to be sure to output the damage as fast as possible. And then here we are in the waiting section. The boss is already dead, it just doesn't know it yet.
It's going to figure it out pretty soon. Devil Tifa just hanging out at the bottom here, keeping safe by taking out the missiles. Every now and then players will, I think they maybe get nervous that it's not actually dead, so they fire in some shots here and there while they're waiting. Why not? If you've got nothing else to do, a little peace of mind. Devil Tifa is going to be the first one to finish mission 5, has been our leader since very early on to that lead, and this is pretty cool to see.
Brother Main is not doing the correct thing here. He should, yeah, okay. They were doing the correct thing and I was wrong. The boss, once again, was already dead. They were just waiting for it to explode, but I was wondering why they would not destroy the under gun. I thought that was mandatory, but apparently it is not even. Like that boss, once again, is super weird. So just want to output damage, so it he kills it and then waits. So it's always a good one. On top of the screen here, you will see Brother Main try to knife everybody and the single shot, and they did it. So that's a nice skip. You are skipping actually 4 waves of enemies, but it is a super tricky one. You want to manipulate the enemies so they stack up all together. And sadly, Brother Main dies here, losing the shotgun. That could go a long way, but that bridge section is just impossible.
Yeah, this is one of the hardest places in the run to not die, for sure. This is kind of chaotic and mayhem. All 3 players, Brother Main, Melwest, and Devil Tifa, have all died at least once, either leading up to or in this section. They don't have that shotgun. And obviously, you lose time dying. Obviously, you lose time without the shotgun, but you lose more earlier you die. So it's fortunate there for Brother Main lose a shotgun immediately. Having it can make that incredibly difficult section manageable. If you can hold on to it, the shotgun will help you keep on top of the enemies. But once you lose it and you're stuck with, at best a heavy machine gun, it is very easy to die again or a couple times in that section. So moving on to the final boat section here, a long boat ride. You can use the ability frames of getting off of this mission to deal with some troublesome projectiles. The big thing, though, is going to be that that shotgun. You can see it on Devil Tifa's screen. One of the prisoners has it, and I'm not sure if that's the one prisoner for Brother Main.
I do hope it is.
I certainly do. If you can either keep the prisoner there or free him, get him to drop the S, and then keep the S there, and then avoid it for the entire run so you don't pick it up too soon and die with it. Brother Main has died here and is actually just going to let the continue screen count down here because you don't really, the boat's going to keep moving. So why throw yourself out there and put yourself at risk when you can just hide. I don't know where you are when game over, but wherever it is, you are safe there. He's just on the left side of the screen.
I think that
bombs and drops and things pile up.
I think they died intentionally there just to be sure they have like the extra 10 bombs waiting for everything to scroll. This is just like a know exactly what you're doing section. You want to get exactly the bombs and the resources you want. You want to dodge the shots, you can dodge, but if you cannot, hey, it's not too bad since screen is scrolling anyway. And look at this thing between Melwest and Devil Tifa, very close together, but Devil Tifa died, lost 36 bombs there, and lost their machine gun, did not have the shotgun, so only Melwest is getting to the boss with good resources. 22 shotgun shells, that's 4,400 damage, 48 bombs, that's 4,800. On top of that, they have exactly enough to kill the boss, well, even more than that, and the only struggle now is not to die with all those resources, and it's actually way easier said than done because the boss is shooting like left and right all those projectiles. Melwest is actually using the shotgun to clear the shots, dodging everything and landing all those grenades. The boss should be dead very quickly, and yeah, not dying on the boss fight, that's going to save them a lot of time here.
That was very well done by Melwest. It is very hard to come into the fight with all those bombs and the shotgun. And then it's then another thing on top of that to use them correctly. We also got a kill there from Brother Main, who immediately opens up the menu. Don't get to see the lovely animations play out for the end of the fight. Devil Tifa getting a bad pattern from the final boss. That is something you need to read and react to, especially if you're trying not to die with the shotgun to deal with. Then others, Devil Tifa has the machine gun and 8 bombs, so didn't want to take a death on those missiles, but frequently that is a good option because you do get the 10 refill that will help you out quite a bit. But Devil Tifa knows he's at the end of the fight. He doesn't need bombs. He just needs to find those last few hits. So a very unfortunate couple of final sweeps there. Not the pattern you want to see at all ever in this fight. And he does lose quite a bit of time through that final boss fight, finishing in 3rd, I suppose. It could have had an off-screen finish as we start subbing in players. Q Shadow on the final boss fight, dying Ghost Death is a little earlier on in the fight. Skunk Off now in the top right, and Fireman in the bottom right. Everyone on the final boss fight, so no one's had any sort of disaster in Metal Slug so far, but the minutes are ticking, and this is a short game, so every 3 seconds will count for a point. Those points are ticking away pretty quickly, and so despite everyone being on this final boss, it can be quite frustrating trying to find the last few hits. Fireman gets his. Cute Shadow is got to be just about done now. They've been on screen for a while. They do just have the pea shooter, 20 bombs to play around with if this boss will come down and they can use them, but no such luck.
Yeah, Ghost Death is having a very difficult fight as well. The boss is almost done though. They should be able to find a kill with that machine gun right now. They died actually, and yeah, you have to deal with the different patterns you will encounter sadly, and that's going to cost them a lot of time. Ghost Death is going to finish last. We had Offscream's finish with Superling God finishing in 12:45, so we are going to take a look at the final score, but the Ghost Death had a fantastic third place here and is going to lose a lot of time with the time sub 15 actually, which is not too bad considering how the struggle with the final boss.
It definitely doesn't feel good to have a solid run all the way up to that point and then lose that much time just on this one part of the game. It feels like you made one mistake and lost minutes for it, but it's a series of mistakes that kind of gets out of hand, and then there's bad luck also that comes into play with some of the patterns. So that's just the way Metal Slug goes. And we had a nice parade of finishes. Basically, once we started, we were always subbing players in, taking a look at how their final boss fights were going. So yeah, I do expect kind of a nice gradient of times here, finishing with Brother Manu still in first and still by 13 points. So lost 7 points to Mel West over the course of Metal Slug. Super Link God jumping into third now with that really strong Metal Slug run as well. Devil Tifa, the only one at the 13-minute mark, and then we had a bit of a cluster between some of our other players at the 14-minute mark who are still fairly close, 20-30 points away from Devil Tifa, who is sitting at 4th place, currently the last player to qualify for Ultimate Finals. Lots of games left to play. It's nowhere near over yet.
Yeah, so Metal Slug was a difficult time for Ghost Death, Cute Shadow, Fireman, and Skunkoff, losing up to 50 points compared to Brother Main and Mel West, but Superling God manages to get on third place here, right ahead of Devil Tifa, and this is going to be pretty cool. Trials 2 is a very interesting story though, because it is the strengths of some very specific runner. We've seen the best runs in the UD were made by Skunkoff, so we'll see how well that goes. But first we are going to take a short break just so everybody can relax for a little while, drink some water, do anything you want to be a little bit less stressed out entering a fourth game of this weekend. So once again, this is the grand finals for UD6. Those runners have been practicing for the past 25 weeks on those 10 games, so those are the best. They're very, very good runners and racers on those 10 games, as shown with those first 3 games. And what do you think is going to happen today with Trials 2 and Shovel Knight?
Shovel Knight is, who knows? It is such a hard game. We've seen every year Shovel Knight in at least some capacity, and we've seen some players really knock it out of the park sometimes. So it's very hard to say how Shovel Knight is going to go. Trials, I think we're going to see an extremely close race.
Yeah.
There are some players who, the players who are generally a little weaker on some of the other games like DKC or Shovel Knight, those players just kind of happen to excel at Trials. So we're seeing this scrunching of times, and I think it's going to be extremely close. It's going to be very exciting, and I can't wait. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to.
Yeah, so see you in 10 minutes for Trials 2 and Shovel Knight, the second part of today's UD6 Grand Finals. Hey, welcome back. Everybody was super impatient to see the next two games. So we've played three so far. How are you doing, Musical?
I'm still doing good. When our next game, Trials 2 to be precise. You say that when you have to say the game name hundreds of times over the course of several months, you start to find the shorthands for these things. We can take a look at the overall arching season, the whole competition. All these little circles and lines are all pointing towards where we are now, the grand finals. It is 9 of the best competitors competing this season, who are all faced against each other. 4 of them are going to move on to the huge celebratory live in France happening in just about 2 weeks. But for most players, this is where they really are trying to make their stand. This is leads to, and we can see it has led to the 4 favorites being our top 4 runners. Maybe not in the same order that we would have thought. Brother Main currently leads by 13 points over Mel West, Super Link God, and Devil Tifa. There is a bit of a gap in second and third. We can see almost 20 points. And then a bit of a gap still between 4th and 5th, which is the really important cutoff. Again, 4 people will be qualifying for Ultimate Finals. 20 points, not a lot. Not with 7 games left to play. So it's still quite close. And it is going to be probably the closest. I saw someone say my mic was choppy. The Y end too close. It is going to be the closest run of the bunch, I think. Inel's coming up next.
Yeah, it's Trials 2 and Shovel Knight. Everybody is like waiting for those games for diverse reasons. Trials 2 probably going to be like a story about my uncle, a very close one. Everybody has been practicing on the category, so it's all the easy and medium tracks, and everybody is within like a minute from each other PB-wise, so it's going to be pretty great. Everybody has shown like to be pretty consistent on the game, and it's a very good one to watch. So I'm expecting the shift in the leaderboard not to be that great after Trials 2, but obviously if you start to struggle a little bit, if you start to reset a little bit too much, you might lose a lot of points. Shovel Knight, on the other hand, shows like a big discrepancy between like the runners PB. You can have like up to 7 minutes between the first and the last. But in races, Shovel Knight shows that even having like a very big PB doesn't mean you're going to get in first place just because the game is so tricky. So it's going to be a mix of very different games, and we'll see how well that goes. I do expect Ghost Death to do way better on those 2 games that is done on Metal Slug, just because Metal Slug is one of their worst games, so we'll see how well that goes for them. Obviously, Double Defense, Super Lingard, Brother Main, and Mel West are expected to do fantastic on all those games, just because, you know, that's how they've done on the entire leaderboard for all those 10 games, so we'll see. Although Super Lingard is just a little bit shy of what they would want. Like, they're just a little bit behind on everything they've done last week, and they were not super pleased with last week's performance. So we'll see how well that goes, if they do manage to get back from that, if they do manage to get a better times on all those games or not. As I said, like the PBs of all those players are super close together. Super Lingard being almost a minute behind, over a minute actually behind Devil Tifa. Devil Tifa could pull back ahead and get 3rd or 2nd place after Trials 2.
Yeah, we've always talked about how this is Skunk Off's strongest game, sitting at 227 points on the leaderboard, but Devil Tifa is kind of right there with 225, I think it is. I've managed to remove him from my leaderboard with 225 is the time that he has, and there's the 221 out there. So he is, when you get put up against some of these monsters, even your standout game becomes only just a tiny advantage. So hopefully he is able to execute on his amazing skill in this game, like he did in which competition was it? I think it was the August tournament, he actually set his PB by a second or two in a race, and something like that could be the kind of thing that really starts to let him challenge for one of these top 4 positions. Things have been going well for the players so far. Super Link God just behind Devil Tifa, finishing out this stage neck and neck on the top of the screen between Brother Main and Mel West. Trials is a weird game to play if you have never played it or a it, and honestly there aren't too many games like it, to be honest. You have your controls of gas brake, you can move your rider back and forth, and that's kind of it. Moving your rider will kind of move your bike as well, but you are controlling you and not the bike, and so that is where a lot of the, I mean, basically that's where Trials happens, is is in how your movements transfer to the bike's movements and how you get it to do what you need it to do.
Super Link God having a couple of resets. They're very close between Brother Main, Devil Tifa, and Mel West. As you said, this game is weird. You have to understand how it handles, and you can see on Super Link God's screen that it's not that easy just to make a simple, to cross a simple gap, just because everything will stop you and doesn't behave exactly as you might think it does. But once you've mastered the secrets of keeping your balance and actually moving forward and keeping your back wheel on the ground, you are going to have a decent time with the game. Brother Main on the first place right now, going for the entire loop. You can skip that one, but it's very tricky, because if you go like too slowly and try to cross the gap without going for the entire loop, your head will likely bonk, and that's immediately kills you. So knowing not to go for the skips is pretty much the biggest skills everybody on the UD has. You do not want to go too fast. You'd rather go consistently and not do exactly what Brother Main did right now and die and restart like a couple of jumps away, and that doesn't cost too much time by itself, but just not going as fast as you could might change the way the entire track behaves. And sometimes I actually like resetting on the checkpoint is the correct strat, and resetting entirely your speed will gain you time, but you can see on every single jump the runners have different height, different speed, and the one that has the best speed and landing correctly his wheels on the ground will go the fastest. So it's not about like being the fastest on every single slope, it's all about the landing, pretty much.
Yeah, it is very important to keep your energy, basically. If you come down, jump, and your bike bounces, it kicks off to one side or the other, you're basically losing kinetic energy in that motion, and that is energy that could have been transferred forward. So you want to do is make sure that everything you're doing is to preserve as much energy as possible, rather than trying to introduce as much energy as you can by going off this jump as big as you can. It's going to hurt you more than help if it means that you're landing in a very bad place that is going to kill all of your energy when you land. So we're into one of the funnest levels. Where's the ground here? Brother Main is rocketing off into these really big jumps. The entire stage is basically a series of big jumps. There is one opportunity in particular where there's many opportunities to choose between a lower or upper path, but there's one that seems to get players. I don't know if they can't decide between low or high or what, but they end up almost decapitating themselves, and it is right here, actually. So he's going high, and he's going to be fine. The rider is a little sensitive. I mean, certainly decapitation. I don't fault anyone for having a problem with being decapitated, but even if he just bumps his head just a tiny little bit, that can be enough to send you back to the checkpoint. So the players will be taking care through those sections, like that loop-to-loop, like he mentioned, to keep their head clear. For now, Brother Main leads by a little bit. Super Link God, Devil Tifa are very trailing behind Mel West, who is in the middle, still quite close to Brother Main. Could make later seconds here. Wow.
Brother Main, like, their helmet actually clipped through the board and they didn't die. I do not know how that was possible, but you can see on Mel West's screen the way they passed the obstacle was way cleaner and actually faster. But Brother Main like had a weird bounce and still made it. I I've never seen that, but this game is full of surprises. Brother Main and Mel West very close to each other, as you said, and Super Lingard and Devil Tifa trailing in. Yeah, okay, Devil Tifa just makes it, and Brother Main had just had like a big reset and actually let Mel West lead by at least 10 seconds right now.
Yeah, Mel West had a reset, not nearly as costly, and there are some pretty bad things that can happen, but some of these checkpoints are very close together, so it really is not the end of the world if you have to if you die, flip, or not quite hit a checkpoint or something. There are definitely some cases where players will really not give too much thought as to how they land or come out of a jump or something when there's a checkpoint right there. You do start from a standstill when you restart from one. Sometimes being able to charge into a checkpoint with reckless abandon, knowing that you're just going to reset afterwards, comes out being almost as fast as doing it perfectly. So that is something here or there that players can opt for. Brother Main on a very tough series of jumps and has navigated the fall afterwards, which can be very, especially getting into that V shape in such a way as to get your going up that side there. It's very easy when transferring from the downward to the upward slope or something bad to happen to your Mel West also through that section as well, and these players out in front continue to hold that lead.
Yeah, not by much though, as Super Lingard is trying to catch up as best as he can, but taking a couple of resets here is going to slow them down. Devil Tifa the end of Too Many Tires here. Well, just before the start of Too Many Tires, my bad. At the end of the easy tracks, just with that angled slope here, finally makes it. Starts the second level of the medium difficulty, and Brother Main actually having some very good results there, passes everybody, and it's going to be tough to get first place now for anyone. Brother Main sadly takes a hit directly on the checkpoint, so immediately resets. Many checkpoints and put to good use, to be honest. In that run you will see very often the runners directly reset as soon as those flames comes up, because, well, you just like reset exactly where you want with the no speed and perfect control of your bike, so that's always good to have. Mel West having a little bit of success here, bunny hopping on the, above some of those obstacles, but yeah, it's going to be pretty tough to catch Brother Main as they don't slow down for anything. But it's sometimes done to very minor and correct executions. Sadly, Mel West missing the jump here, having to reset, loses a little bit of lead, and Super Lingard and Devil Tifa very close together once again. But Brother Main finishes the level way ahead of Mel West now. About 20 seconds of lead. That's at least 3 or 4 points now, and that's exactly what they need to keep the pace coming and keeping that first place as they establish dominance over the past 3 runs right now.
Yeah, I was mostly joking when I was talking about Brother Main taking that huge dominant role that we saw from Devil Tifa and Mel West in the July and October tournaments, but he's turning my joke into reality. It seems. Well, just having a bit of trouble on Boulder Dash. Very tough to deal with these pipes. They are sort of flared at the ends, and they will catch your bike, both the front tire on the way up and the back tire afterwards. So it's a problem in both ways, and it is this staircase here where you can get stuck in just that way that we saw from Brother Main. It has allowed Mel West to catch up. He does have one more left to go, but that one was no problem for him, doing a great job of closing the gap, chasing Brother Main into the pipe level, whatever it is. It's Pipe Dreams, it's the 4th last track, so we're getting down to it here.
Yeah, Super Lingard and Devil Tifa started Boulder Dash exactly at the same time as Brother Main was starting Pipe Dream, so one entire track of difference between those two. I wonder where Skunkov goes this, or Also, Fireman and Q Shadow running up from a little bit behind, but not by much, like 20 to 30 points. That's 2 to 4 to 3 minutes on that very specific game will be enough to close the gap. But apparently, Brother Main taking a little bit of a weird angle here, starts back from the checkpoint and has to keep on going. I love how those levels are at the end of the medium corpus. It's all about like some random crates and plank put all together for some weird angle and slopes, and it doesn't make too much of physical sense. Like, it should not hold up all together, as we see one squirrel on screen in the I Want Squirrels level. Nice front flip as they in a suicide front flip to get to go as to close the gap with the checkpoint as fast as possible, and Brother Main will finish the level pretty soon. Those angled slopes here are way harder than it looks, and second to last level here, almost done in under construction. Brother Main should be able to finish first if those two final levels go smoothly.
West now heading into under construction as well, just, I don't know, 10 seconds behind Brother Main. It's the kind of lead that can be made up over the course of these last two levels. They are quite difficult. Under construction is, you can see it's still under construction. There are several some planks and stuff laying around that clearly were supposed to go across this gap or that, but haven't been put up. So players have to make do without. It does create some pretty challenging slopes, and it's kind of haphazard in its appearance, and be a little weird to deal with, but it's certainly not too much of a problem when you are speedrunning the way these guys are. Melwest is caught up a little bit. Brother Main having a bit of trouble on the set of angled slopes, but a strong finish from Brother Main, Melwest as well. So they are both moving on to the final exam, the final track. Super Link God with a reset there is going to fall back just a tiny little bit, or maybe not. No, Devil Tifa was on the first ramp rather than the second, like I thought. So very close on the bottom as both players are heading into under construction. We got kind of two races developing on the top and bottom. Brother Main gets a nice big flip over onto that section there. There's a couple backwards flip sections, one where you're actually driving on the ceiling backwards a little bit, and they're both pretty difficult. We'll see how it goes for Melwest approaching this section now. He also gets a lot of height, but he nails that landing, and it's looking pretty good for both players.
Yeah, I love how you said that it was two races when everybody is actually so close together. Like, the gap between first and fourth here is less than a minute, but Brother Main and Melwest were so close together, as Brother Main right now finishing the final jump above the tire. You want to go a front flip a little bit so you clear the gap, and Brother Main finishes as Melwest is actually struggling a little bit to clear those final few jumps. Ghost Death at the start of the final level, Skunk Off in the middle of the final level, Fireman in the second to last level, and Q-Shadow at the start of the final level. This is very close between all those players. Melwest actually losing a lot of time at the end of the track. Devil Tifa having a couple of resets at the start of the track will lose a lot of time. He's actually behind a lot of the players we've seen on screen just before, and yeah, they're just struggling with those few jumps. They want to finish as fast as possible because there's a lot of hit coming. But Melwest is struggling as well on that final jump, making a big jump above the tire, and finally finishes the level.
There's going to be a lot of finishes in pretty quick here, unless things fall apart. Super Link God getting on some tires. Very easy for one of your tires to end up in the middle of those big tires, and if that happens, it's kind of sometimes it's impossible to get out of. So he's going to go ahead and reset it back to the checkpoint. If you've come into them with even just a little bit of speed, your tires are not going to end up there, but once they are, it can be a big problem. So Link got into some of the hardest jumps in the run, the final sequence of the final level. He has no problem with the second one. After resetting once on the barrels, also finishing is Ghost Death right alongside. We've got Cute Shadow now on that same tire and barrel section. Devil Tifa has been having a lot of trouble with this final level, is starting to finally make some progress on these same tires and barrels that we just saw from all the other players. Cute Shadow flipping backwards off hits the wall on the back, does so in such a way as to land safely, and is going to come down on the bottom half of that ramp with the middle section heading into the final jumps. He resets once, and there's different ways to approach this. You can bunny hop and clear both of the barrels cleanly, or you can kind of just drive into it and get traction on it, and then it kind of like the Cute Shadow is doing, and you can all just send your back tire into it and do an insane flip. It looked like he had it there, but he was able to convert. There it is, skipping off the top. And that extra speed is probably going to give him plenty to get over the tire at the end. So there it is, actually starting the next level. But we are done with that goal. Everyone, I think, now is finished. And we can take a look at the leaderboard and see what the are going to be. I think that was a very, very good run from Brother Main. We'll take a look at the leaderboard and see just how many points it was. It looks like he's going to continue to into this top spot.
Yeah, that was very, very close between a lot of the players. We'll see exactly the times, but some of those players were tied to the second, apparently. At 14:58 finished Superling God, Ghostess, and Fireman, so very close between those three. Brotherman with an incredible lead of 13:41. That's 223 points on that single game, having a nice 19 points above the 200 per game average, so that's very good for them. Melwest also with a big gap at almost sitting at 800 is almost 21 points ahead of Super Lingard. Devil Tifa close behind. Ghostess very close behind as well. Devil Tifa just 13 points difference. And Fireman, Cute Shadow, and Skunkoff not too far away actually, but the difference between Skunkoff and Brotherman keeps expanding at above 100 points now. It's over 25 points per game. It's actually a lot. But we are moving very quickly through those games. Like, everybody finished in under like 16 minutes right now.
Yeah, we started at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we are booked until 3 p.m. Eastern Time, but we have one game left and an hour, 5 minutes to go. The players are too fast. It seems we are. That's just what can you do if they're all going to finish with times on every race? That's just the way things are going to go. This is bad news for Skunkoff, though. This was his strongest game. This was his chance to really make a dent in this gap that is between him and some of the other players, and it looks like it slipped a little bit. Still a good run. You can't be too upset about a 15-20. It's 206 points on him, and it just was not enough compared to some of the runs that some of these other guys got. So it's just going to be that much harder for Skunkoff to come back in some of these later games, like perhaps the next one that is coming up. It is the biggest game of the season, and indeed all seasons of UD in terms of not just its length, but also its complexity. It is the wonderful game, Shovel Knight, and it is got probably the point spread from first to last of our players competing. Melwest has a very impressive 217 point PB, and not competing just yet, but still part of the competition is Capriquig, who is down at 141. So we're looking at over a 70 point spread there for the players. And on top of that, it's just a game that is very hard to race consistently. So that's going to be our finale for day one, and it could play a major role if these guys are, if this leaderboard's going to get shaken up at all.
Yeah, like so far it's like very close. Everybody is finishing in bulk rather like one by one. Do note that everybody is doing way better than they were in the last chance tournament. So Ghostess is actually way ahead, like almost like 10 points better average on those four first games. So that's like he's aiming for above like maybe 800 points, but sadly that might be not even enough. Like everybody is going so fast, and Shovel Knight is a big, like, significant milestone for UD6. It's been super tough on everybody. we actually shift a little bit the time limit from 60 minutes to 65 minutes, so everybody could like play the game a little bit less stressfully and just be able to enjoy the ride through the game. But all the rounds and the strats differences between all the levels and the bosses leading up to the boss rush that can just lose you up to 3 minutes. Well, it's a wild ride. It's an awesome game. I do recommend like playing through it and maybe even learning the speedrun, but it's an intense race. Like we're going to see some very cool action going on here. We'll see how well the guys are following, the runners are following their route, and if anybody dies anywhere, especially in the Lost City where we've seen a lot of deaths early on in the season, that can shake up things quite a lot.
Yeah, that's also pretty early on. It's at a point where you have an item to buy on that level, and as costly as deaths can be simply in terms of to redo rooms that you have done before, the gold you lose when you die or potentially lose can be an even bigger problem in some cases if you pass over some threshold of being unable to buy something that you are counting on buying. If you had some extra and you lost some and you're fine, then great. But it is very scary to be in a situation where if someone had to go without the dust knuckles or something, that would be a huge adjustment that the player would have to make. It would definitely cost them I don't know, a minute plus just through not being able to do certain things and have to adapt on the fly. So death's very scary in Shovel Knight, and they get scarier because those checkpoints have money in them, and you want the money to buy the things, and in order to get that you have to break them open and they are no longer usable. So we will see checkpoint breaking, especially early on, and it does mean that early deaths will, in addition to being early and throwing you off at the start of the race, they also will hurt you in terms of probably sending you back and it's also when you're buying the most items that run, so you're more likely to not be able to something. It's very, very stressful early on in the run, even if the levels are much easier compared to later on, and I'm sure the players' emotions are running high for them as they're all setting out to strike the earth in the first level. Everyone very close to each other, just minor differences in movement, jumping at the tops of ladders because you stop moving, and you take a little bit of time to accelerate, whereas jumping will get you up to top speed immediately. Some players going for the leap of faith on that platform, not stopping at all. Some players playing it a little more safe. One of those players was Mel West, actually, who seems to be favoring some of the safer strats that he normally would maybe even balk at earlier in the season.
Yeah, but I do agree with that choice. Shovel Knight could seem to be like a strat game, a strat speedrun, but it's actually just a movement speedrun. Having good movement and good execution on top of the boss fights, that will matter the most, but except for the boss fights, having good movement and precise like execution is better than just going for intense and crazy strats that would save you maybe up to 2 seconds on some jumps. Like, you'd rather be precise, like in Brothermain, just missing a single jump here and falling off the ledge, put Mel West back in the lead. So that's how the race is going to go sometimes. But as you can see on screen, everybody is doing great, because where the most time is going to be lost is on the boss fights everywhere. Mel West going for the bubble wrap was as Brothermain is electing just to go normally through the level, but Mel West gets the bubble wrap in immediately and saves a little bit of time, but not much once again.
It is something that players have opted to learn. It's kind of weird. It's very different from most other things you do in the speedrun. So you really do have to take some time out to learn exactly how it and get good at it, and it doesn't save all that much time. So in a season, in a game where there is so much to learn, not many players have opted to do that. Black Knight, for many players, I'm sure almost everyone is on this fight now. Shoveling is a very important technique in this game, particularly for boss fights like this one. Devil Tifa had a bit of trouble with it at the end, but basically attacking in the air and jumping as soon as you land lets you get back into the air to attack again, and also jumping will let you be moving in the air so that you're not getting you're mitigating the knockback when you hit things. So combined together, you get some pretty rapid fire hits. You can actually lock down Black in the corner. It's a crucial technique for almost every single boss fight going forward. So Double Tifa may be a little rusty, a little bit of rust on the shovel. I'm not sure, but he does drop back just.
Gentle hop here, clearing the gap. Very nicely done by Mel West. Leading so far. The Pride Moors keep is I don't know how important that's going to be for the overall like route, because the runners have been shifting from like destroying all the checkpoints on that specific level from gathering actually more money on the leech yard, and the money situation has not been so tight since the runners have been like moving away from the a lot of gold situation to just going for broke and going for the Conjurer's Coat and 6 HP, and that's it. So it's been better for a lot of runners route wise, but in this setting, like in the just grand final settings like that, you might want to be a little bit safer. I don't know. So the gold situation is very close for between all those runners. The Tifa at 1400, like Super Lingard, Brother Maynard, just a little bit less like Mel West, but they all should go for the exact same route, being Conjurer's Coat for more magic and just taking a little bit more damage. Sadly, that's the trade-off. And 6 extra HP and a bunch of upgrades, being like the Dust Knuckles, the obviously the Propeller Dagger, the Chaos Orb, although we've seen Melwest run without that, so we'll see what they choose to do today.
I think he's gotten without the Chaos Orb. Fully expect to see that route from him today. And I do expect not many players to make that choice, though. The Chaos Orb it gives you a lot of options, a lot of just extra damage here and there, and really doesn't cost too much time to out of your way to pick up. It is not the absolute fastest thing available to the players, but it is so much harder to execute on all the strats without the Chaos Orb. We'll see how the King Knight fight goes for Mel West. It has been a fantastic opening with the shovel cancels and the pogo. Nice. That was Brother Main as well in the top right, having a King Knight fight of his own.
Nice.
And not quite as beautiful as it was for Mel West, but also just a very, very good King Knight fight. We'll see how it goes for Ghost Death now, who is not quite getting the double or the triple pogos on those big jumps, and he's having a bit of trouble with his slash canceling as well. So this, you can see the difference now that boss fights make in this game.
Yeah, like the my Q is the slashes, and we've seen 2 on Ghost Death screen, and he has the Confettis of Shame. Like, this has been a very slow fight as Devil Tifa is entering the King Knight fights on his own. On the top of the screen, we can see 2 Leech Yard starts. Mel West a little bit ahead, as Brother Main and them should go as fast as they can, not breaking the smaller checkpoints. You are going to get like the one that are worth a lot of money, especially in the ruins. That's where the checkpoints are going to be worth a lot of money. Mel West tripping up on that frog, but getting the skip nonetheless, and keeping on moving there. Even if the screen is pitch black, you want to know exactly where the pits are, using the background as cues, and just keep on moving. Brother Main went with the actual like intended strat on that screen, and here, that very specific screen where Mel West is probably one that killed the most players, just because you have those spikes on the ceiling here that would kill you in one hit if you were to touch them. Nicely executed by Mel West, that keeps the lead here.
Brother Main doing a really good job of getting those pogos on that low height ceiling, a little skeleton enemy, and deals with the frog, that one frog that everyone hates on that one Polish yard, moving into some of these dark sections now, testing the player's ability to memorize the layout of the level, and also just their ability to have confidence in their ability to memorize the layout of the level, making the literally blind jumps in some cases. Mel West breaking a checkpoint there for that extra money. Ghost Death chose to wait out that enemy, that being got very aggressive with, and he's going to take a moment to approach the frog cautiously near. But yeah, the players are quite close still in through the second level here, third level, second sort of night level, I guess. And it's still Brother Main in front. He seems to be not quite unstoppable the way that we saw from Mel West in October or Devil Tifa in July, but he really does seem to have the edge over everyone else today.
Yeah, the leech yard is a real nail biter. All those jumps, all those skips, all those tricks everywhere that can kill you in one hit. I'm super scared, but everybody seems to do fine. Ghost Death and Devil Tifa are super close together, and Mel West starts very nicely with 4 and 8 hits on the boss. He hopes for the correct RNG here, doesn't have it, so he's going to bounce the boss back against the screen and gets a very nice fast kill on the Spectre Knight. Brother Main going for the good RNG and has it, so that's going to be able to give them a very faster kill than Mel West, but still Mel West has the lead on Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight is going fine, but everybody is in different spots right now, and the lead is going to increase for Mel West, I feel.
A lot of Spectre Knight fights going on for Super God, Cute Shadow, and Fireman. Pretty much in sync, actually, for Fireman and Cute Shadow, as it's slightly different. Link God is done with Spectre Knight now. Ghost Death's about to start his fight. We'll see what kind of pattern he gets. He wasn't quite doing the jumping shovel cancels to make the most out of it. It's only 6 hits, and he's not going for any of the juggles that are so difficult to do on Spectre Knight. So he is going to have to deal with this dash attack and find just 3 more hits to finish this off here. 1, 2, and misses the third, but he is going to have to. Yeah, that was not quite optimal there at the end, but did a very solid fight overall. Devil Tifa also getting the last few hits in the top right corner, joining Ghost Death in the next section here. It's a bit of a shopping, and it'll be a little different for all of the players.
Yeah, so I'm very interested to see what Melos is going to do. Not going for the Chaos Orb. Seems to do nicely for them, but it's going to slow down some of the boss fights. And sadly, some boss fights, you want them to go as quickly as possible, because you might die on Polo Knight or Plague Knight if it doesn't go too well for you. That would be super unlucky, but unfortunately that might happen. So we'll see. But yeah, Mel West, keeping close to all his cash, is going to go through the ruins and get into the Mole Knight stage here, where we are going to buy our first on-site upgrade. The Dust Knuckles are going to be very useful throughout the entire game, but especially on that very specific level for some skips. Nice cycle for Mel West here, very nicely executed, and everybody else appears to be way slower, because actually buying the Chaos Orb cost about 30 seconds.
Yeah, this is the reason why the world record is as bare bones as it is. It just finds ways to do without it in that 30 seconds. So it is. We'll see if Mel West is able to capitalize on. I feel like you need to be at an extremely high level in order to really save all of the seconds that you spend going to buy that thing. It pays for itself very quickly, especially when you're not quite optimal. So that's on him now to make up for this route. He does a little damage boost through an enemy there. Dust Knuckles will help out the next time we see that guy. But for now, we're soldiering on through the Lost City. Brother Main waiting patiently for this little beetle guy. He is helpful, so we're definitely not going to disparage how fast he moves too much, but it is a bit of fighting. Pretty scary whenever this guy shows up, because if you die, you know that it's a very long wait to get back through this whole section, and it does make things pretty tense sometimes for some of the players. Ghost Death and Devil Tifa done with the shop, now joining our 2 front runners in the Lost City. We're getting still some drive-bys over these piles of dirt and gold from the players by just jumping and attacking right as you approach it. You can kick up just a little bit of extra gold. They'll take it wherever they can get it. But Mel West is going to be the first one to spend his hard-earned gold on those knuckles.
Yeah, they still have a lot of money. Usually, you'd see some runners actually struggle to get to the 3k you need, especially new runners that would buy more HP at the start. It has been like theorized, like can you buy some more HP right off the bat on the first showing spree? But that would be like so much detour to gather all the money you need that it's actually not worth it. Very nice couple of strats here by Melwest going as fast as they can through the Lost City, and you have to pay close attention to those self-destructing blocks, not to pogo them too early or you would die, using the dust knuckles once again to clear the gaps. And there are some very cool skips on those beetle sections, but going for those can be kind of tricky and killed a lot of runners. On the first beetle, we've never seen the skip attempted, and on this one with the dust knuckles, it's pretty usual, but you have to be very careful with those stairs and then get the correct jumps, and nicely done by Melwest.
So he's going to be moving on to the Mole Knight fight. When a player like is Melwest across all the games, Decathlon, it's hard to say that they have a particular strength or weakness, but I honestly feel like Shovel Knight is really a strength for them, on top of how strong they are in all the other games. Just the ability to execute at such a high level in races in this game is so impressive. Melwest with a really good Mole Knight fight there without the Chaos Orb. It does, the opportunity for a lot of damage with Chaos Orb on this fight. Mole Knight is moving back and forth. If you time it right, you can get your orb inside Mole Knight's hitbox for most of the travel all the way across the screen and rack up a lot of hits. But Melwest doesn't need it, able to execute. We'll see how it goes for Brother Main. There it is, exactly what I was talking about. Get a damage out of it. The boss is almost dead. He doesn't even really need to do shovel cancels on the left-hand side. So gaining just a little bit of ground over Melwest with those Chaos Orbs.
I love that alternate sprite on Mole Knight with the flamey long hair. Those looks pretty sweet. But Melwest is moving on pretty quickly on the Explodatorium. Those birds that drop exploding potions on you can trip you up, but if you know exactly what you're doing and never stopping, you will get always the same cycle, and that should be okay for you. Melwest taking their time though. They're having a very strong race, not taking too many risks, knowing exactly what strat to go for and what strat to skip, and you'll see them constantly like trying strats that even if you fail them, you will not lose too much. And if a strat could end up causing you like to die or to lose a lot of time, to lose cycle, they will not attempt it. So that's pretty much how that shows. They appear to have chosen the route they're using, and it's consistent with like not buying the Chaos Orb. Not buying the Chaos Orb will for sure save you like the trip to the market, like about 30 seconds. With the Chaos Orb, you might save up those like throughout boss fights, but you're never sure if you are going to be able to execute on those. And it's been pretty interesting to see the differences between Brother Main and Melwest regarding those strats. The mini boss here should not be a big issue for Melwest, just shovel cancelling on the side, and it should die. It should die pretty quickly. They will wait for the cash and the HP though.
Devil Tifa missed the final hit at the end of Night Fight, had to wait a little bit for the next attack to start. And also early in the level, the one where you hit the green sludge and turn the lava into a bouncy goo, took like 3 or 4 tries to get the sludge to go where he needed it to go. So a bit of troubles in the Lost City. Has dropped back a little bit behind Ghost Death even, who is starting the Explodatorium now. Still half a level behind our 2 front runners on stream. Brother Main done with the mini boss, just going nuts with the shovel canceling in front, and Melwest is trying to set up a little bit of a skip there. We're going to get like a backup here with a jump over to manipulate the enemy to jump and use them as a springboard up top. Very well executed. Not many players even bother trying to go for that because it is such a minor skip with a surprisingly high level of execution attached to it.
Yeah, it doesn't save much, and it's pretty easy to mess up. And if you do try to set up anything, you will end up losing time if it doesn't succeed. So Once again, Melo is showing that they're consistent at all the strats they're elected to actually go for. And getting to the boss, that boss can be a big pain because it's super random. So we'll see how well that goes for them. And usually they have a pretty smart fight, just waiting for the correct time to strike and waiting for those projectiles to bounce them back to the boss's face. Yeah, super quick.
Done with Plague Knight, one of the most annoying fights to deal with. Cute Shadow having a bit of trouble as we take a look at some of the other players, kind of wildly moving left and right in a position, but managed to hold on. Is going to be heading into the fight, just breaking the checkpoint here. Here is the mini fight now. Super Link God on that screen with the skip going. Not sure if he tried for it and failed or immediately went for it. Brother Main now into the Plague Knight fight. Using those Chaos Orbs, you get, you'll probably get at least one hit when you throw it out with purpose. But then after that, he's going to go somewhere. The Orb's going to go. Both are quite chaotic in nature, and so if you're lucky, you'll get a couple extra hits. But it's mostly going to work with the shovel. Does final hit there because Plague Knight was just kind of hiding inside one of those pots that was reflecting his projectiles. Does get the kill mini boss for Ghost Death, damage boosting onto the right side here, and is keeping it pretty simple, just attacking on the ground. And he's chasing him a little bit, almost got away, but does get the kill pretty quick. Mel West already starting the Iron Whale.
Okay, Ghost Death is a little bit behind Devil Tifa, but I say that Devil Tifa died and Ghost Death actually pulled back ahead. Devil Tifa's runs are going to be pretty important because so far he is a gatekeeper. He is the one on 4th place that's barring the entrance to the Ultimate Finals to anyone. So if they fall behind, Ghost Death, Cute Shadow, Fireman might end up being able to pass them and get to top 4. Devil Tifa dying again, attempting to go for that skip that no one else does anymore, and that's pretty sad to see. But that's why nobody is going for it anymore. It's just super risky. Ghost Death being trolled by a live bomb instead of any HP he could have had on in that plate. Ghost Death going as well for the skip, missing it sadly, and losing a bunch of time here. So Brother Main and Mel West in the Iron Well will keep on pushing and keeping their lead compared to the bottom screen.
Devil Tifa edges to pick up some gold that was floating. I think that was the second death for Devil Tifa. Got through that tricky section, so it's okay, but I think he fell from the screen that he's on now. We'll see if he's able to safely touch the ground, and he is. Mel West being chased by the anglerfish. The chase section is not too bad, but executing on the fight afterwards can be a little rough with the charge and the dust knuckles. He missed one there, but he is going to be able to clean it up as he falls on the way down with the shovel. He is going to be going without the anchor. It is something that I think not too many of our runners will pick up. It's not useful in many situations, but when it is useful, it's very useful. So it will particularly help in the Propeller Knight fight that a lot of players have had trouble with, like Ghost Death was having a bit of trouble with Plague Knight, but he's only got 4 more hits left to go. 3 now. Chasing him. Just get down here. Able to find the last hit. This Brother Main now also onto the anglerfish as Devil Tifa is dropping down into the Plague Knight fight. Brother Main not doing too much work with the Dust Knuckles, mostly relying on the charge attacks. There's the Dust Knuckles, and he's going to be able to get a 1 cycle on the fish, and he's also not going to be picking up that anchor.
Come on, I like that anchor. Sadly, Skankoff died on King Knight, and that was too much for them, so they are going to not keep on going for Shovel Knight. They'll be back there tomorrow, but with one less game than the other, it's going to be pretty hard to pull back ahead. So they might end up on the 8th or 9th spot, so we'll see. Everyone else, though, is keeping on strong. Devil Tifa died a couple of times on the Exploratorium, so it's going to be pretty hard for them to keep the pace, even with Ghost Death that's already done shopping. And Brother Ming just died in Iron Well, so it's only Mel West that is going strong right now. They might end up having a strong lead going out of Shovel Knight.
Oh, that was a weird death for Brother Main. He was on that missile that you, this one right here. Well, I mean, not that exact missile, but that type of thing where you hit it and it shoots across. And he was standing on top of the thing that holds it instead of the actual missile. And it started moving without him, and he tried to get to it and didn't react in time. So that is a death for him, and it is a costly one. He has been sent back quite a ways and then falls down again, so maybe a little rattled. Hopefully he's able to pull himself together. We just got a little check-in with some of the other players. We saw some anglerfish from Cute Shadow, and now Brother Main back where he died. You can see the gold here. He doesn't quite need it. He didn't have much left at all. You actually see the bronze money bag that you don't see all that often. Mel West is done into another dream sequence where players might be trying to kill many enemies for a lot of gold. Brother Main dying again. Mel West dying on purpose to end the dream sequence faster. I promise you, Brother Main was not dying on purpose there. That is very bad.
Yeah, they died on the screen where you skip the checkpoint, and sadly has to do all that section again. Cannot go for the skip here, the money is gone that you used to bounce, so it has to use all the two missiles. On the next screen, like that's the two guy died a lot to that. This screen is super weird. The blue guy here is throwing anchors, can be tricky to pass, so yeah, that's why they're taking a hit. And then yeah, it's just annoying being on that missile, so bye on that flying away off screen, and then finally makes it there. They jumped a little bit too early on the anchor and almost done it again, and now you really don't want to die a third time. Meanwhile, on the bottom part of the screen, on the angular fish, Devil Tifa and Ghostess are almost caught up with Brother Main. Just the checkpoint, like that's where on the checkpoint, that's where Brother Main started up again on the second try. So Mel West is way ahead, like almost 2 minutes ahead, I want to say, in the flame machine right now.
Brother Main had half of health left and dove under one of those Purple Knight enemies, and I was sure it was going to drop right on top of him, but he good somehow from below and shot out above it, and then was able to get the health refill before heading into the fight. The Chaos Orbs doing a ton of work in that fight. A great fight from Brother Main, doing a good job of rebounding from the situation. Cute Shadow also with a very similar fight. The Fireman is very close to Cute Shadow, actually, is rocketing towards the final section of this death. And Devil Tifa not too far behind as well, as we come back and take a look at them. But everyone is quite far behind. Mel West, who is just having a phenomenal Shovel Knight run here, has at least the 4,000 gold required for the propeller dagger. Which is
Oh no!
Ooh, immediately.
Wow! Did they take?
Man.
No, they didn't take the backup checkpoint. Oh yeah, they did. Okay, my bad. This is this. I thought it was the third checkpoint, but it's not too bad then. You can skip the checkpoint entirely, and that would mean losing a lot of time. But since they already bought the purple dagger, they're not even going to bother with their money. And actually, like, no, okay, not going for it. Interesting. So that's probably the least punishing death you can take on this game.
Yeah, just about. I thought we were about to see a big swing happen, and then yeah, literally the smallest death you can take. You know, so. Going to still be the leader by a large margin. Treasure Knight fights for both Death and Devil Tifa going pretty well. Triple Jawa room for Mel is over and done with. Very scary room, very tricky enemies. One's going to show up in a little bit, but it's in an auto-scroller when you're really not trying to go all that fast. It is much less of a problem than it is in that previous room. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's gone well for him. Brother Main going to be the second player to enter the flying machine after some troubles in the Iron Whale. We'll see if he's really is back on track. The Treasure Knight fight definitely was a good indication of such a thing, and it will become very clear in the flying machine, just because it is such a difficult level with so many tricks and little things on every screen, like using the Dust Knuckles there to punch through some of those blocks just to go a little bit faster. It looks a little scarier than it is, but he holds on. Mel West also holding on after colliding with one of those ridiculous rat propeller enemies. Very, very fun and cute to look at. Genuinely very annoying to within the speedrun.
any flying enemy will trip you up at some point in any speedrun. Like, I feel there are like some, you know, there's a chart for annoying enemies in speedrun, and definitely flying enemies that are on your way and moving randomly are up there, and those rats fit that description. So you want to dodge them as well as you can using the proper dagger, and Mel was touching the checkpoint here, gathering a little bit of HP. I'm not even sure if they're going to need it, but they actually, even it doesn't appear so, they chose to play safe on Shovel Knight, and they're going just for a lot of safety strats and tiny backups here and there just to be sure. A very nice start for the fight, 3 HP and a half for probably the Knight, so he's going to go for swing slashes and pogos have his head, and yeah, the fight is already done. Very nice.
A lot of players would be quite jealous if they were unable to produce something like that. We'll see how they do when they get there. There's still quite a little bit for them to go in order to get to that same boss fight. That is just the lead Melwest has in this situation. Brother Main getting through that really scary triple Java room into the auto-scroller now is actually just ahead of Cute Shadow. And we saw, look at Fireman was about to purchase the Propeller Dagger. Ghost Death and Devil Tifa still very close together heading into the mini-boss. There is a potential to kill the mini-boss while he's up high with a pogo and leave the screen up and actually get up on that platform on the left there. It is, you know, it's a cute little thing, but it does mean that you need to fight the boss in a particular way, and it also means that you don't get that checkpoint that ended up being so important for Melwest. So definitely approve of the checkpoint grab in such a scary, punishing game as Shovel Knight.
I like that everybody's actually taking it. I was unsure that Melwest would have taken it, but apparently it's totally standard in a race to get that. And Melwest is very often like going out of its way just for a couple of seconds just to grab checkpoints. So nothing surprising there. Brother Main almost there. This is the second to last screen before Propeller Knight, and this one can be tricky. Oh wow, barely makes it with the upwind. Very nice. Ghost Death and Devil Tifa in the triple Jawas room. You want to get lucky, or you want to charge a shovel and put that right to their face like Ghost Death is doing. They will pass the screen. Devil Tifa took their time as well. So it's going to be, once again, very close between those two. Brother Main using the Propeller Dagger to land as many hits as they can on Propeller Knight. But with 6 remaining health, that could be a longer fight than the Melwest shown.
Yeah, he's going to try to do some pogos, but he's getting blown into the air, and he was way over to the right. I think he was not expecting to be that far at all. And he went right into that pit, pretty far into that boss fight. That is a costly death. A lot of other players are now Ghost Death and Devil Tifa into the later sections of the stage. Brother Main has died a couple times now in Shovel Knight. He had a pretty strong flying machine heading into this boss fight, so we'll see if he's able to recover from this death like he did earlier on in the Whale. He's got pretty much the same opening as he did last time, and he's not going to be able to get on the right side of the screen, and he's much safer now, just way in the middle, and he dies again to damage.
Half a heart of HP. Wow, I'm not even sure. Like that totally could tilt anyone. Dying on Shovel Knight is super hard mentally, I feel. It's probably one of the... It's not the most costly death, but I don't know why, personally, it just trips me up dying in Shovel Knight. And dying twice on Propeller Knight when you know exactly what you're doing is just super annoying. Brother Main having a very good fight, but sadly does not find the final hit there. He has to play it safe, and he's going to do so.
Oh,
doesn't find the hits, and finally
he must be so nervous. Okay.
Yeah.
Just as we see another boss die, it's Melwest. Well, it's a mini boss, I guess. The first phase of Tinker Knight done in by the mobile gear. Moving on to the boss fight proper now. Devil Tifa also taking down Propeller Knight. Ghost Death on the first half of the fight did a pretty good job, and he has the anchor, so this phase is much, much easier and more straightforward than it was for some of the other players. A very nice finish to that fight. Mel West with the pogos. He does some pretty crazy stuff on this fight, using the mobile gears for the 1 damage. He'll do the dust knuckles, and he'll go for this charge finish at the end as well. But he seems to be playing a little more safe than usual. So with that, he is done now with Tinker Knight, almost a full stage ahead of at least everyone else. Well, now that we take a look at Super Link God, who unfortunately did just die, is quite was a ways into the stage. Q Shadow also now right ahead of Super Link God. And both of them, but still half a stage behind Mel West, who is looking very good right now.
Yeah, Mel West should end up like by 4 in the first place. Super Lingard is in a tough spot here, but we are back to focusing on our top 4 leaders. Devil Thief and Ghostdeath on the same screen but at different times. Ghostdeath has to go all the way around. Brother Main is about to buy his mobile gear, but Mel West on the stranded ship here. Almost done with the, I almost said Robot Master, but the 8 Knights is just going as strong as they can. They died, like everybody had failures, but it's just all about how much time they cost, and Mel West manages to get the best outcomes every time. They're just like planned, it's not luck. There's very little luck in speedrunning such a non-RNG game. Shovel Knight is very set, all the platforming is very tight all the time. Brother Main having good execution, but once again sadly died twice on Prop Blue Knight, just
Devil
killed
Tifa.
their momentum.
Unable to hold on is Devil Tifa, got knocked out by a missile and was using the propeller deck in all kinds of ways to try to save themselves. Ended up trying to go for the far ledge and falling a little short, so is set back quite a ways here. Very unfortunate. See how they're able to recover from the situation. It's been a little bit of a messy Shovel Knight for a number of players so far. It's much only Mel West. I mean, even Mel West has had a couple things go wrong here and there, but it is just such a hard game to execute on, even for our stronger runners of the bunch. But we can see now a checkpoint reached for Devil Tifa, so is bouncing back on track. Brother Main on the final, not final ascent, but the ascent, the here in the clock tower, which, I mean, it wouldn't be a clock tower without one of these vertical auto-scrolling sections with conveyor belts and stuff. Yeah, just how it has to be.
We don't like it's missing the awful like round platform you're struggling to stay on because it's turning and you do not know exactly where the edge is. But we'll leave that to Castlevania coming up tomorrow evening. Like it's going to be the very final tense game. Mel West showing up that you can throw those snowballs back at Polar Knight and having a very good start with using the mobile gear. Mel West, I think, died last week on Polar Knight, but no such luck for them today. Polar Knight died and Mel West doing a fantastic job. You will take a lot of damage, especially with the Conjurer coat on all those boss fights. That's why you do need to know exactly when to be safe and when you can go full ham shovel canceling into like the boss hitbox, because that's probably going to be your best bet damage-wise, but that's also going to cost you a lot of health. So, well, Brother Main having a very clean fight against Tinker Knight Phase 2, while Ghostdeath is just starting right now, but Ghostdeath has the anchor, and that's going to save 5 hits apparently there, and then going for some Chaos spheres on the boss face right away, and then pogoing. You might want to go for some mobile gears, because the fully deployed mobile gear does one entire heart of damage, but Ghostdeath was a very good fight using a lot of his magic abilities, and killed the... I think they got the accomplishment, the achievement of beating the boss without landing a single shovel strike.
Yeah, I think that's what that was. There were some involved, but no actual regular attack there. So hats off on that very important achievement in a race. Devil Tifa into the Tinker Knight fight. Lots of people all together, either just before or just after this Tinker Knight fight. Devil Tifa, one of the further back of the bunch. We can see Ghost Death starting the stranded ship. Cute Shadow we saw on screen for a little bit is also early on in the stranded ship, but no one is in the Tower of Fate. Mel West already moving on to the final few sections of the game. This is the hard stuff in the run, for sure. Culmination of all the other levels mixed together with this neon green background with animating rain that looks beautiful but can be hard on the eyes a little bit when you're trying to focus on some of these other things. So we'll see if Mel is able to hold it together. Devil Tifa with the opening of the stranded ship, with the beetle. It's just needs Propeller Dagger to skip a little bit there, and he does eventually get over. And Brother Main is gonna go for this checkpoint here. Doesn't take too much time to go get it, and checkpoints in a hard level like this one are definitely quite valuable.
Yeah, they definitely can go a long way, so getting those is totally worth it. You want to keep an eye on, now that the runners have the Propeller Dagger, you really want to keep an eye on their MP count, because sometimes those come awfully close to 0 when you still need like one extra buck forward to save yourself and land safely on the platform, but the economy on those players is just perfect. Ghost Death is almost to that checkpoint. They want to kill the enemy first, get the extra health just because, and just move on. Devil Tifa is a little bit behind. They died again. You can see that to those money bag left on the ground, and that was a weird place to die. So Devil Tifa is showing a little bit that maybe they are a little bit out of practice on Shovel Knight. I'm not sure, but Shovel Knight is a very important game for the UT6, and that might end up like costing a lot of points and maybe costing them their fourth place. Brother Main died and started up again on the section. A lot of deaths today on Shovel Knight. Last week we've seen some of the best Shovel Knight performances ever, with Super Lingard finishing last at 57-55, and I'm scared that today might be a different story.
It seems kind of across the board, Mel West seems to be immune to it a little bit, but even he had some struggles. Everyone else, though, really struggling in some cases. Ghost Death has pulled ahead now of Brother Main, who has died, I think, technically 3 times on this section. One of them was, very short, but he's had earlier struggles. He's still struggling now, and it's caught him. He's being overtaken here and there. Players who are all racing, even if they're not on stream at the same time. We can see Fire now is onto this Polar Knight fight. Shadow already in the Tower of Fate. Super Link God also in the Tower of Fate. So some of the people in last place are some of the people we have on stream currently. Ghost Death into the Polar Knight fight. This was a pretty scary finish for Mel West. Actually, finished the fight on the last hit with the Chaos Orb. Some distance, but those spikes are still lurking.
Yeah, like, you want to make sure that you're not taking too many hits, but you also want to make sure that if you are touching the spikes, you just took a hit, so you are still in iframes. But dying here will put them behind Ghost Death, and actually maybe in 7th and 8th place with Devil Tifa right now. So Mel West is just like breathing through Shovel Knight. Well, nobody seems to be able to catch them up, and actually even trying to do so, dying and losing even more time. So that might end up like being a big shift in the overall ranking for today's tourney.
Death managing to die in the middle, catching Shield Knight a little bit sooner. You can do some pretty crazy stuff of taking your final hit way up in the air and doing a crazy mid-air catch, but no such luck for any player to being Tifa in the dream sequence. Indeed, they are the furthest environment heading into the final shopping sequence. We'll see how much, I guess, is here for health. We see that everyone else has opted to get more than 6 health, so Fireman going to be the safest player of the bunch so far.
Ghost Death is doing the same thing, going for the 10 HP, I guess, just making sure. It's interesting because that's costing them about a minute and a half, so that's a lot. You will see Devil Tifa and Brother Main pull back ahead, but if at any point they fall under like full HP, which might happen pretty easily because they're with the Conjurer's Code, so that means they're taking 1/2 heart of HP on each hit. So like anything during the boss rush or the tower will, if that end up being worse, like just saving them one death, that's totally worth the detour. And Brother Main is actually doing the same thing, so a lot of players electing to play safely today.
Cannot blame them in this situation, particularly Brother Main. Something like 4 or 5 deaths over the course of this run, and especially just the way they happen all together can be very frustrating. So to feel like, I'm not playing my best right now, I could really use this extra health. It could be the right move here for Brother Main. Regardless, it's the move they've ahead and made. Mel West is now into the second of 8 fights against all of the knights here. Spectre beat the second one. Polar Knight already down. Polar Knight a little scary because he's got those instant death spikes that he summons. It's one of the reasons why he's guaranteed to be one of your first 3, but either way, it's nice to have him out of the way. There's Propeller is a little annoying, and Plague, I think, are definitely the two concerns left for Mel West at this point. Remember, doesn't have the Chaos Orb. That helps a lot in pretty much all of these fights. And it's something he's going to have to go without. So onto this Plague Knight fight, trying to follow him with just the shovels. He gets a pretty cooperative opening there, has done a lot of damage with just the shovel.
They want the chicken, but they could not get to it. And El finally gets it. No! It disappeared! They don't have HP and they die! What? They lost so much time trying to get to that chicken, and Plague Knight just made appear the beaker, the glass pots exactly at the incorrect time and preventing Mel West, which landing on it, but exactly at the moment the chicken disappeared. What was that? That was totally unfair. That death was totally unfair. They played like super clean so far, and they're taking a lot of hits once again, but using the dagger, but being trapped there. Wow, what is happening?
Can't get hit again. I mean, it's going to cost less time to die here than it did on that previous one, but doesn't want to die at all. Charge and unable to get the last hit. Another death for Mel West. This is how it's kind of gone for everyone. One death has to another in this game, and it seems now, even at the end of the run, Mel West not immune to this sort of thing happening. Are they going to be able to rally and bounce back? We'll see. Devil Tifa dies late into the Black Knight fight as well. Shovel Knight's such a difficult game. It has been this way for the entire season. Things were starting to change a little bit. The last time we had it in the October tournament, we saw some really strong Shovel Knight play, but it's showing it's fighting back today.
To be fair, like a lot of those deaths have different weight, like time loss wise. What is happening to Mel West? They had like consistent, perfect fights throughout the entire season, and I don't get it. Like they didn't die to boss rush like since early July is my bet. Like it is a tough game. It is hard, but they shown like consistency throughout the entire game, and they should not be dying right now. So either something is tripping them up, or just having died once due to that unfair like patterns on Plague Knight is just getting through them, and it is a lot of time lost. They had a big lead and significant lead, and Devil Tifa, even though they died on Black Knight, passed both Ghostdeath and Brother Main. So my bet is that even Ghostdeath, Brother Main, and Devil Tifa are all three having very terrible Shovel Knight runs. So we are already at 47 minutes, and nobody's done with the boss rush. So that means that the best finish time we can expect could be like 52, 53 minutes now.
It's the kind of thing where, we would always be a little bit concerned about the 1 hour, 5 minute cutoff for Shovel Knight in past races, or indeed the 1 hour cutoff before it was changed. It was a big concern, and then when we got into October and now this I mean, we're still in October, but this grand finals, I thought the cutoff was going to be much less of a concern for the strongest players in the league, but it seems like it's maybe going to start to become relevant for some of the players who are still got a little bit of ways to go. Ghost Death is on top of the nice little skip there on the ceiling. Brother Main is getting set up for it, but Devil Tifa is in the scroller. Still a fair amount of Tower of Fate left to play in addition to the boss rush. It's definitely, plenty of room to still finish under that cutoff, but if things start to go this way that they've gone for Mel West, as they do for some of these other players, they're not going to be able to afford the way that Mel West had with the gigantic lead. So it's starting to become more of a concern. On to the Spectre Knight fight now, on his third last night, and he's going to go ahead and let him go off to the left side, trying to get him a lockdown on the right there, whiffs the shovel, but not taking hits, and that is the important thing.
Yeah, nice strat, consistent strat. Once again, Melwest is showing consistency, that's why I was so surprised to see them die. Popular Knight killed Brother Main a couple of times, but with the slash cancel here, Melwest is just showing proficiency in the game. Although, like, Popular Knight is doing a ton of damage, but he should be dead. Like, Melwest is going to charge up, and as soon as oh wow. Okay, no, what? Yeah, okay, we good. They got hit at the same time, and I saw the animation, I was concerned, but okay, good outcome. King Knight, though, should not kill anyone, even with the Conjurer's Coat. He does only one HP at a time, and they die pretty quickly. So Melwest should be done with the boss rush right now, but lost a ton of time, allowing everybody else to catch up. Brother Main enters the boss rush last, actually. They currently are sitting on the first place of the leaderboard, but that's totally going to change.
Super Link got actually very far along this push, along with Cute Shadow, just 2 fights after this propeller for Cute Shadow, and 1 more after Tinker for Super Link God. So both players are doing quite well off stream. We'll probably have to take a look at the leaderboard to what their times are going to be. Devil Tifa now setting up for the Spectre Knight fight. Polar, very scary moment for Ghost Death, using those long-range Chaos Orbs. He walks a little bit too far and touches the spike, so Ghost Death dies. Why Polar Knight is one of the first 3 knights that you fight, but regardless, that is a fairly costly death. So back to the start of the boss rush for Ghost Death. We'll hope that the same quicksand effect that overtook Mel West doesn't claim Ghost Death as well.
Yeah, you have to remember that they probably don't know how bad the others are doing, and since for everybody that's been a train wreck at some point, it could lead up to a tilt pretty easily. So Melwest has to stay focused even at 51 minutes entering into the Enchantress. They probably will know soon enough they're in first place, but maybe right now they just should stay focused. Devil Thief had the past the half of the boss rush. Brother Main is going to start the King Knight fight, and Ghost Death has to start all over again, sadly. Melwest having an okay start, a couple of swings here and there, taking a couple of hits, 4 HP left for the Enchantress. Okay, careful.
Has opened up a big gap in the... If he had the Chaos Orb, he could probably throw a couple shots and try to find the last couple hits, but he is not going to be able to do that, and he's certainly not go down for the insane Pogo, or I don't know if it has a name, but regardless, it's not something he's going for. Waiting, charging up, and just needs one more hit. He goes in with the Propeller Dagger to get it. It was very aggressive, but probably the right thing to do. The weird staircase was just cut out below him. The projectiles were coming. He couldn't take another hit, so it worked out for him.
So the Enchantress 2 kill count is actually quite high, but it increased certainly only at the start of the season. Right now, everybody is sitting at a nice, consistent fight using the knowledge with the ground slam that you can stay on the middle and pogo of their head. It's pretty easy to get a consistent fight on that section, but still you need to get good Shield Knight RNG and behavior. You need some good shovel cancel. Very nice opening for Melwest. They're going to go for a lot of Propel Dagger and then jump on top of them during the Grand Slam, and it should be done pretty quickly. And here we go, 52 minutes and 40 seconds for Melwest, quitting promptly the game to submit their time.
I don't know if that was frustration or something, not letting the ending play out. I don't know, but maybe curious to see how it went. Probably felt like he was likely in the lead after a really good run, and then started to really, lost so much time in that boss rush. So maybe panicking a bit to see what it to some of the other players. We can see lots of boss rushes now, some Enchantress fights going on. Super Link God subbed in the top right, done. Enchantress 1 going to be big focus here for the finish boss rush. And for Devil Tifa, 2 fights left for Steph, and Brother Me done as well. And I get nervous every time I look over and see someone in the cutscene with low health, and I'm like, oh man, it's going to be hard. And no, there's a refill. It's fine. Everything is fine. But we'll see how this Enchantress 2 goes. It was very clean for Melwest. There's a bit of, like you said, Shield Knight will be a little different, and the Enchantress will go left or right. We can actually see the gold now that we've checked in with Super Link God. We know this is not his first time on this fight, so pretty unfortunate. The gold's also going to be a little bit distracting, I think, for a player approaching this. He has done enough damage to force the second phase, and generally this is where, as long as you're up here on top of things,
Nice.
Much easier to deal with. There it is.
Very nice kill for Super Link God. Because that's finally done with the boss rush, but Devil Tifa and Brother Main are moving along. I'm not sure if anybody else is done right now, as Melwest and Super Link God claimed first and second place. That was a tough run for everybody, but congrats to anybody that's able to beat that game in under an hour. That's a crazy good achievement. And Enchantress fight is starting for Brother Main right now.
Devil Tifa is on phase 1, done a pretty good job of dealing damage first phase, didn't get too much out of the dives. Cute Shadow is onto the second phase. He's trying to chase her with the Propeller Dagger. You can see those gold bags again. Players, a bit of struggles with the very end of the game. Needs one more. There it is. Now done. Cute Shadow gonna pick up some points over some of the leaders here. Brother Main not yet done. Devil Tifa not yet done. So Cute Shadow is going to be very happy to start close that gap, start the challenge for one of these top 4 options. And Brother Main and Devil Tifa are going to do this to hold on to theirs best they can. Devil Tifa is starting the cutscene now. Same one as Brother Main. We're both waiting patiently for their chance at Enchantress 2.
Yeah,
Enchantress 1 for 5. Now that we got him.
It's close, and I'm super surprised with that Shovel Knight result. Fireman finally done with Enchantress 1. Brother Main playing slowly here, destroying the projectiles, and is going to pogo on top of the Enchantress. Final form head is going to have to suffer through another cycle, sadly. Did not deal enough damage on the first attack, and has to go all over again through those. The Enchantress is not going to slam until they still have over half of their HP, and a couple of last hits for Brother Main, and they're done. Same goes for Devil Tifa, and exactly at the same time, because they sadly died on the Enchantress 1. So has to start all over again and try to get a better fight here. So everybody's done, but Fireman and Brother Main here. And Fireman, my bad.
Fireman has triggered the second phase. He's got his pogas, his propeller daggers are on point, and so he is going to be able to finish as well. Almost everyone, done under that 57-minute mark. Ghost Death can still finish under an hour. We'll see how this final Enchantress goes. Waiting for the dives here. Hits one charge shot.
Okay.
Chaos Orb, not quite going to... Needs one more hit after this.
Nice. Picking back up his gold, nice. Yeah, Shovel Knight. Everybody is screaming out of frustration. This has been a tough run for everybody. So congrats to being able to not tilting too much and keeping on going. Melwest admitted that having a perfect run like that and dying on the boss rush tilted them quite a lot. So still finished first. I wonder if Melwest is going to pass Brother Main after that Shovel Knight. Brother Main had a very good lead over Melwest after Cuphead, Story About My Uncle, Metal Slug, and Trials 2, because they're starting the Entrentress to fight. So once again, they have to deal as much damage as they can on the first couple of hits. Sadly, has to wait all over again for another cycle, for another chance to deal damage. Very nice clean strats for cleaning those projectiles though. And here, Purple Dagger deals a ton of damage, waiting patiently under it, and should be done. Yeah, nicely.
Very well executed. Second time around. Ghost Death is going to be the last person to finish. 58:09 or so timer. Everyone well at that hour mark. I was worried for nothing. These are, things got away from players in a lot of ways in a couple different places. Almost no one escaped unscathed from Shovel Knight, but compared to some of the performances across the season, honestly not that bad. Easy to focus on mistakes, especially in a game like Shovel Knight, but under that hour mark by at least a couple minutes. And some of the runs, our top finish from Melwest is actually a pretty good time. We can take a look at the leaderboard soon and just how good it is. It's just not as good as it would have been without that death at the final sequence. So the points are in, and Melwest barely overtakes the top spot by just 2 points.
Wow, so yeah, 980 for Melwest, passing Brother Main with a commanding lead on Shovel Knight, like almost 3 minutes and a half. 3 minutes and a half. So 978 for Brother Main. The battle for top spots is going to be tough for tomorrow. Super Lingard and Double Tifa, nice gaps between those, like 25 points between second and third, 25 points between third and fourth, and 25 points between fourth and fifth. So it's going to be a big battle to come back from that. But do note that any game can trip the runners, as Shovel Knight has done. So it's not done for anyone. They still have to play as fast as they can. Tomorrow is going to be The End is Nigh, Inertia. Inertia especially is going to be a big one. DKC is probably the biggest, Decathlon killer we've seen. Like, if you start dying anywhere, it can be super tough. Spectral is awful to be put in 9th, I think, because if you do not manage to get out of the space construct fast enough, you might end up losing 30 points. And Eye of Sorrow is going to be a nice finisher. Long but consistent game if you practice well enough your drops and stuff like that. So we'll see. Complete Quick is going to play tomorrow, starting at 1 p.m. CEST on the twitch.tv/Ultime Decathlon Twitch channel. So it's going to be pretty nice to see them as a good introduction to the final round of the grand finals. It's going to be super tough for them, so if they manage to get all those 10 games done on time and close to the other guys, it's going to be a huge achievement for them. But we'll have to wait tomorrow and see how everything shapes up. Good finish for both Melwest and Brother Main at the end of day one.
Yeah, and we've got an interesting battle developing for 4th place. Devil Tifa has 923 points, and he's put a bit of a gap between the next closest competitor, Cute Shadow, at 901, so it's a 22-point gap. But there's, between 4th Devil Tifa and 7th in Fireman, it's less than 30 points. So across 5 games, that's very doable, and it means that one of these spots at least is for the Ultimate Finals. The big live event in France, kind of the prize that everyone is competing for. One of those spots is quite attainable for many other players still competing. And that's not to say that any of the other 3 are locked in by any means either. We've certainly seen how even strong players can make some pretty big mistakes. So it's something they're going to have to execute on. There's some hard games left to play that are worth just as many points as all the other games, and it really does remain to be seen how this is going to shape up. I can't wait to find out, but I'm gonna have to wait for at least almost a day. I was gonna say 24 hours, but that's not quite how time works. And I will probably check in with Kapwik. It's a little early for East Coast, and certainly very early for West Coast to follow that whole run, but. Looking forward to seeing where Kapwik fits into all of this. We could see things change quite a bit. I really have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, I'm not sure if running, knowing how well or bad the other runners have done, is a strength, or it's going to be super hard. Having to play all 10 games in the same day is going to be tough, especially since they had to work today. So it means they did not spend the day practicing or pulling any advantage towards them. It's just I don't know. I'm super interested to see that. I'm super thankful they are actually going to run and did not drop everything. So once again, we are asking a lot from those runners. So it's actually great to have them running with us today. But yeah, everything will have to wait tomorrow. But speedrunning is not stopping. I guess speed gaming is still going to go strong for speedrun if you are wanting to watch some more content.
Yeah, we've got Legend of Zelda Echo of Seasons happening very soon on Speed Gaming 2, Ori Randomizer on Speed Gaming 3, Mega Man 2 Randomizer hanging on this orange color on my screen is for Speed 5, and on the main channel coming up at about 3 hours, less than 3 hours, 2.5, is the Super Metroid A Link to the Past crossover. I think they call it SMZ3. No one quite has come up with a great name for the insane crossover between these two games. Randomizer co-op tournament on the main channel, going to be taking up most of this evening, along with all kinds of other great content happening on Speed Gaming all the time. And if you come back tomorrow, because all you care about is Ultime Decathlon, thank you so much for supporting us and watching. You can find us same time as always, 11 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, 5 p.m. CEST, West Coast. You're going to have to set your alarm and wake up 8 a.m. in the morning. And you can find us for the other half of the grand finals of Ultime Decathlon Season 6.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We'll have to see who's going to pull back ahead in the battle for first place. Certainly the story of the duel between Melwes and Brothermain is going to be epic, but do not underestimate Supreme God or Devil Tifa to pull back ahead, and obviously Cute Shadow, Ghost Death, Fireman, Skunkoff and Kapwik are going to do their best. Some runners are very satisfied with today's run. Fireman apparently, despite being in 7th place, has done a great job keeping close to his PBs, is only 6-7 points away from Cute Shadow, and that's 5th place, so keep on going. Ghost Death a bit disappointed with Shovel Knight, but he admits he was a little bit rusty on it, but good day overall. Brothermain obviously super happy, saying that in chat, so we'll see. This is not over. We'll have a great couple of runs coming, and yeah, we'll see. But the prediction you put on at the start of the stream, the double, if we double the points of Devil Tifa, which is a rough estimate, it's we go to 1846, which is almost there at the 1850 mark. So we'll see if the big decider is that 1800 to 1850, but it's definitely very probable. Cute Shadow, because there's Fireman, I do hope you have a good night of rest and you come back even stronger, while Melwes, Brothermain, Super God and Devil Tifa will certainly keep on trading punches for the first place. See you soon. Be there. It's going to be 11 a.m. It's going to be great. Oops. What is happening? This is the most chaotic ending. We're back! No, it's actually done. Have a good night and see you tomorrow.